Anthony Reynolds. Eugene Sullivan.
Here.
Stephanie Euler. Here. Jonathan Smith.
Here.
Brian Denziano.
Here.
Debbie Koalas. Here. David Hart.
Here.
Aubrey Searway.
And now we're going to move to the presentation on school committee roles and responsibilities with Eileen King.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here. It's nice to see some people like in person because I think Stephanie, Brian, you and I did a lot via Zoom, and Jody and I have been working together, I'm going to say for 8 years. So it's nice to be here in person tonight. My name's Eileen King. I'm the Executive Director of the Maine School Superintendents Association. I'm also the Deputy Executive Director of Maine School Management Association, which brings me to you tonight because some of these services that we provide are superintendent searches and also board workshops. And so Barb and I spoke earlier in the middle of the summer and talked about doing a board workshop on superintendent roles and responsibilities as well as school board roles and responsibilities. I'm a 16-year veteran or surviving ex-superintendent. I was in an AOS, which is also known as an alternative organizational structure. If you're a superintendent in an AOS, we call it the atrocious organizational system. I had 6 districts, 6 budgets, and I'll go on and on and on about that. But I was in that position for 16 years before going up to MSSA 8 years ago. So I'm thrilled to be here tonight. And what I want to do is just kind of make you familiar with your packet. So if you open your packet, on the left-hand side in the very back is your PowerPoint presentation. And that's what I'm going to be working off tonight. It will be projected on the screen. On the right-hand side are handouts. So when we tailor these, when we put these presentations together, we do tailor them to your policies. There's an awful lot of information here. I could probably go on for an hour and a half, but I promise I won't. I know you have a meeting at 6:30. But there are some materials that you can go back and reference and maybe at some other point take some time to discuss them or make yourselves aware of them. So a lot of your policies are in here. So before I leave tonight, I'll try to point out some of the things that you might want to take time to review and as you move forward throughout the school year. The other thing is I tend to talk really quickly. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. I will do the best I can to answer it. If I don't have the answer, I'll make sure I get it to you. I will be seeing Barb tomorrow. We have our new superintendent's orientation workshop tomorrow. This year we have 29 new superintendents and assistant superintendents. It is the largest class I've ever had by about 15. So really excited to do that. We decided to video all of our new superintendents and assistant superintendents and to introduce them throughout the state. So I don't know if you got that email, but we'll be making sure that you get a little snap of Barb when we interview her. So the outcomes of the training are to make sure you have a deeper understanding of your role as a board member, to gain clarity about how you and the superintendent should best function together. Realize that the success as a board member is closely tied to the success of a full board. You are a member of a team. You do take your papers out, you do run individually, but when you come to this table, you're a member of the team. And how you manage yourself, how you conduct yourselves as a school board definitely sets the tone and the culture for your school district, and I'll get into that a little bit further. And then understanding the way your board operates will influence the level of trust that your schools and the community place in you. I always like to remind school boards that you are in charge of your community's most precious commodity, which are your children. So the manner in which you manage yourselves and conduct yourselves as a school board really says an awful lot about your dedication and your commitment to making sure your children have the very best that they need to be successful citizens. So I also like to point out the first thing I like to do is that when you were elected into this role, you took an oath. You raised your hand and you took an oath that you would faithfully discharge to the best of your abilities the duties incumbent upon you as a school director according to the Constitution and the laws of this state. That is a binding, ethical, legal oath that you took to make sure that you follow the Constitution and the laws of the state. And the Supreme Court years and years ago awarded the power of running school districts to the state, to the awarded the running of school districts to school boards in the state of Maine. Everything I'm going to say tonight is embedded in statute. And I was going to bring my new blueberry colored book, but Title 20A is really informs what you do, and everything I say tonight is backed up in. Do you have that? Not that one. Is backed up in statute, and it's also in your policy. So this is not an opinion presentation. This is the presentation based on the state laws that you took an oath to follow, and based on the Constitution of the state of Maine. And I have to just get ready to do this. So school boards and committees in Maine, you are the governing bodies for all school administrative units. Your statutory powers and duties live in Title 20A. Title 20A sits in your superintendent's office. You can Google it, you can get online, you can pull up Title 20A, and that is where your statutory powers and responsibilities sit. And the school boards also fulfill a mission as the governing body by acting within the policies, including BBA. So if you look at the right-hand side of your packet, you're going to see policy. Handout number 2 is BBA. And what I want to do is just point out that policies is some of the most important work that you folks conduct and decisions that you make, because they really are the what I call the owner's manual. They really tell you how you're going to run your district, how you're going to make decisions. So policy BBA was reviewed by you folks in December 9th of 2024, and this really outlines your job description. These are your powers and responsibilities. And what's most important is that you will concern yourself with the primary broad questions of policy rather than the administrative details. Your job is to ensure that the schools are well run. It is your superintendent's job to run the schools. And that's in your policy, and you are therefore required to follow that philosophy. The other thing that you do is you make sure that you're functioning within the frameworks of laws and court decisions. And then below we have a list of the jobs that the roles that you do as a school board member. You enact policy. This is policy. It's handout 2, Stephanie, on the right-hand side. And you enact policy. You select, employ, and evaluate the superintendent. You make sure that there's enough financial support, especially also for plant expansion, improvement of your facilities. You make sure that you have the minimum standards for the efficient operation and improvement of the school system. You have to make sure that you maintain records, accounts, archives, and make sure that you're approving budgets and paying attention to budgets. You approve budgets, financial reports, and audits, and that will be brought to your attention when the audit is done. You get a report from your auditor, and you approve that. You estimate the funds necessary from taxes for the operation, support, and maintenance of the school system. You adopt a course of study. This does not mean that every single class that's taught in the school you're going to adopt. This means that if you're going to add a new foreign language program, if you're going to add a new STEM program or a STEAM program, or maybe an innovative outdoor learning program, something that's new and different, something that you haven't done, and it's going to require more staff, more materials, and that type of thing, those are the types of courses of study that you'll adopt. You make sure there's enough staff and instructional aides. You evaluate the effectiveness of your program, of your educational program, and that's done by having the superintendent bring that information to you based on assessment scores that they have received, and that's how you'll have a presentation. You can evaluate what your strengths are, evaluate your needs are, and then you can help determine, based on recommendations from your superintendent, how you're going to move forward. And then you make sure that there's good communication for your communities to make sure that they know what's going on, and then you approve and disapprove personnel nominations. So let me talk about personnel nominations. That takes place in a three-pronged process. So there's gonna be a hiring committee, obviously there's gonna be let's say a third grade position is posted. The principal will put together a hiring committee, and this changes in every district. So I'm gonna explain how I did it. Put together a hiring committee. That hiring committee did have a board member on it, but that board member had no more of a vote, but they did participate in the interview process. The interview committee will select 2 finalists that were then sent to me as superintendent, and I would conduct an interview, and I would also do the reference checks, and then I would decide with the principal who we thought was the best candidate for our school district. I would then bring that nomination to you as the board. You can't hire anyone unless someone has been nominated or brought forward to you. At that point, you can review, you can approve or not that nomination. If it's nominated, then the superintendent goes back and then will offer that person the contract. So the contract doesn't get offered until after you have approved that nomination. But it's a 3-step process, and there can be no hiring unless that nomination is brought to the school board. But what I want to do is also
Can I ask a question there?
Sure.
Did you just say that the school committee has to approve before that contract is offered?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, some districts in the summertime give the superintendent the authority to offer a contract so that you're not meeting like every other week. It's something that I did not do because it's real clear that the process is that the person's brought to the board and then the contract is offered after the board votes yes. But that board has to vote yes before the contract is offered. And I don't know if that's done differently here or not.
Is that the same for coaches as well?
I didn't bring coaches to the board. I didn't bring support staff to the board. Those were my hires, and they were not approved by the board, which then gave me the opportunity that if I needed to maybe replace someone, it didn't have to go before personnel. I was able to make that decision. So my coaches never went to the board. That was my hire and my decision. I used the same process. I had a committee. We had parents on, and we had whoever needed to be on the committee. We would interview that person, and I would make the decision. I would notify the board of who I was bringing forward or who was coming in. Obviously, coaching positions can be very passionate decisions in many towns, but it was a position that I would hire, and I would offer them a work agreement. They did not get a contract because they don't qualify. Those positions don't qualify for a contract. There's no state statute that says coaches or appointed extracurricular type of activities are done by contract.
But it's in our policy, so we'd have to follow policy, and if we wanted to change that, we'd have to adopt it.
Yeah, all you have to do is rewrite policy and keep the old policy in place until you have it adopted, and then you rescind the old one.
For that letter L, what criteria do we use to disapprove a nomination? Am I just supposed to be communicating with Dr. Sargent, and then, or am I supposed to have more information? I'm a little confused.
So it's a great question. I actually had this the other night. There's a process in place by policy. I think it's GCFB is your hiring policy. And there's a process in place in your policy manual about how your hiring process happens. There's also has to be a level of trust that your superintendent is ensuring that that process is being followed. And there has to be a level of trust that the principal has done their due diligence, that reference checks have been made, and that type of thing. What I recommend is that when that name is brought, and the name will not be, my names are never on the agenda, it would be the nomination of the third grade teacher at Booth Bay Regional Elementary School, but there was no name there posted on the agenda, and that was to keep people from doing their own Google searches, because quite often you get wrong names put in, you get bad information. Obviously, we had done our due diligence. The last thing a superintendent or principal wants to do is not hire the very best person for their schools. When that name came through, I had permission from that candidate. I always invited him or her to come to the meeting, because, it was the first, usually they're, new nominations, so they're excited to get the job. And I also asked permission to share not directory information, but what was their master, what was their degree level, what school did they go to, where they taught before, that type of thing. So there was a little summary that you would be provided as the superintendent is introducing the nomination. And the superintendent can share, because we're really excited to nominate, Jody White as our new English teacher, and she's got great experience and great references, but there's got to be a level of trust. You hire that recommendation that she brings to you, knowing that she's done her job and done due diligence. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, today will be my third meeting, and I think I've been raising my hand for like pretty much all
Keep
of
raising them. It's an excellent question, and I get it quite often, because there's a sense that we want to discuss the candidate in public meeting, and you need to have permission from the candidate to do that. And then the other thing is social media is not always accurate. And so the bottom line is having that trust of your superintendent and your principals that they're doing the best job they can. Now, if there becomes a pattern of this one didn't work and this one didn't work and this one, then you want to sit down and say, where are we falling short? We want to make sure reference checks, and it just boggles my mind, but not all the time are reference checks made, and that's probably the most important thing you can do. And I quite often would call people that I probably knew this person, and I never put down a bad reference, a name of someone that was not going to give me a stellar reference, but remain small enough that you do have the authority legally to pick up the phone and call someone else that you might know that works in that district and just find out, what they might know about that person. So that's where the hard work begins. Any other questions? Okay, great question. So this is it. This is what I like policy. Policy tells you exactly what your roles and responsibilities are. And as you took that oath, you are going to follow the Constitution and the laws, and these are based on the legal reference here is Title 28 MRSA 1001. So this is all embedded in law. So this is your policy. I refer to this as your job description. The next handout I want to look at is handout number 3. It's right below handout number 2. Go figure. And this is a policy that you folks adopted. It is school committee superintendent relationship, and that's policy number 3. Once again, you did policy review November 7th of 22. So this was adopted by the board in 2022. And this really talks about the school committee superintendent relationship, where you believe that obviously exercising your legislative function through policymaking is your most important responsibility. Because that sets the direction for the district. It tells your superintendent how decisions will be made, who will be making them. It tells your principals what they're going to be doing. It tells you what you're going to be doing. It takes the guesswork out of being a board member. And so the work that you do on policy is incredibly important because it does set the direction for the school district. Once again, it says the management of the schools is the function of the superintendent. That's in policy. Management of the school is not a school board responsibility. Your job is to see that they're well managed. Her job is to manage the schools. You're going to hold her responsible for following all laws, all policies, everything that she should be following to operate the schools. And then you're going to say, you're also going to give her permission to delegate certain responsibilities. It's to the appropriate people that have the skills and knowledge and information that they may need to carry out one of your policies. And you're going to recognize that the superintendent is the educational leader of the school department. You're going to provide direction through written policy. That's how you tell her how we're going to go. We're going to tell her, we want to get here. It's like a map. We want to get to San Diego, but we're going to let you decide how to get there. And she's going to use her resources, her staff, and she's going to figure out the most efficient way to uphold the policy that you've established. That's her job. You just tell her where you want to go. She's going to figure out how to get there. You're going to give her full administrative authority and support for properly discharging her professional duties and holding her responsible for the results. Obviously, all school committee meetings must be held in her presence unless otherwise mutually agreed upon. Any complaints that you receive should be referred to her. So you do have a policy on public complaints, but it's really important that if you do hear something at the grocery store, or you do get a phone call from a parent, that you let her know immediately that there is a complaint and a concern. My biggest pet peeve as a superintendent was if there was a concern or complaint and I didn't know about it, I wasn't able to look into it, I wasn't able to dig into it, and I wasn't able to maybe nip it in the bud before it became a big issue that it didn't need to become. If I had known, I could have picked up the phone and made a couple phone calls and either found out there's really not much to this complaint and get back to the parent, or I could find out, oh, this is serious, we need to get on top of this. But if you don't let your number one person, your leader, your CEO, know that there's a concern, then those types of things will fester and become problems that they shouldn't have to become. The last thing in this policy is that you're going to evaluate the superintendent. You're going to provide appropriate opportunities also for her to share her perceptions. I always feel evaluation should be a two-way street. You're going to have an evaluation process. You're going to evaluate your superintendent performance, but it's also really important that you ask her what's working well and what could we do better to make to better support the role that you do. And so it's really important that you do have that two-way conversation about the direction of the district, her leadership, the impact her leadership has had on the district, but also let her weigh in on things that would be helpful for her to do her job better. Once again, what I like to show you at the bottom of this policy is that there are several legal references, if you look at that. Once again, this comes out of 20A, and then they're cross-referenced. So when you talk about changing policy, Stephanie, you also have to make sure that if there's a policy that you're talking about, that if it has a cross-reference, it's a domino effect. So the minute you start changing one policy, there's a good chance it's going to impact other policies. So all of your policies have a cross-reference down listed below that will let you know how this policy supports other policies and those policies support this policy. So it's important to keep in mind that when you do that, that you look at what the cross-reference is. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint right now. So effective boards members understand that you serve as a member of the team, as I said, that you take your papers out, you campaign, you get elected as an individual, you take that oath of office to follow the Constitution of the state of Maine, and then you become a member of the team. The other thing that's important and that a lot of people in the public don't understand is you have no authority outside of this boardroom and this seat. So you're going to get a lot of questions about, or you're going to get concerns, you're going to get complaints. You have no authority to roll your sleeves up and try to fix something. I had a phone call from a board member, it was at the end of last year, and a teacher had complained, a parent had complained about where her child was being placed and went to the board member, and the board member called, she said, well, I'm going to go in and fix this, and how do I do that? And I said, well, you don't. I said, you let the superintendent know, and then you let the superintendent and the principal reach out to the parent and make sure they have those conversations. But it certainly is you have no authority except when you're acting as part of the majority of the board. You can have authority delegated to you. The time that it's most common is if you're going into teacher negotiations, your board is going to have a negotiating team. That team, you will give those board members the authority to make decisions on your behalf, not to determine what the contract is, not to make final decisions, but you're going to give them a range of we want our salaries to come in between this and this, and we might want to take a look at like the percentage of the health insurance, or we might want to look at some language and we could live with this, but we don't want to go here. You need to give them some range in which they have some flexibility. Those board members will have the ability to sign a tentative agreement, which means we've both come to agree to this part of the contract. Both sides agree, but it doesn't become binding until you vote to approve it and then the teachers vote to approve it. So just making sure that you do have authority in some cases that's outside of the boardroom, but it's very few and far between. Your superintendent board relationship, I've already gone over. That was BDD. And so knowing your role is maintaining clear roles and responsibilities because that's going to yield trust. It's going to require clear communication among board members and the superintendent. So if you know what your role is as superintendent, it's to make sure the schools are well run, and you know that it's her job to run the schools. You know your role is established in policy making, and her job is to carry out those policies. Your role, and you have no authority outside of it. Those are like the three biggies I want to make sure everyone is clear on. This is a little bit small. Eric and I, the new executive director of the Maine School Board Association, I redid this presentation, and I think I need to put this into two different slides. But so this is a slide that was done by a board chair and a superintendent many years ago, and it really summarizes it. And they did it separately. They decided they would try to, each go in their offices or go in their go home and just sit down, and the board chair said, what are my roles and responsibilities? What is the superintendent did the same thing? And this is what they came up with. It's quite excellent. So you set the vision, mission, and the goals for the district. So you're going to set how we're going to get there, what our vision, I'm sure you have a vision and mission statement, but you set the goals for the district. So about this time, all the school boards in the state of Maine are doing some kind of a goal-setting activity where they're kind of determining what they hope to accomplish in the upcoming year. Yes?
So say we don't have a unified mission for the district, and that's been something that we've wondered about. You're saying that it's the school committee's responsibility?
It's the school committee to adopt the mission. So that's when you set the mission, you're adopting the mission. Mission and vision and strategic plans, they're done collaboratively. They're not done by the school committee behind closed doors. They're done with parents, with community members, with staff members, with your administrators. But once you come up with a recommendation, the school committee is going to vote to set that as a mission and a vision. The goals are done by the school committee with the superintendent. So you're going to establish goals for your district on what we hope to accomplish this year, and what and how will we know when we've been successful, and what are we going to be looking for. And you're going to talk about who, what, when, where, and how. And that just provides direction also for the superintendent, and she will have her goals as well that usually come out during that evaluation process on what her goals are going to be. And obviously Barb had an entry plan when she got here, and she's still in her first year. But you don't set the vision and mission, you adopt it. And that's good because I'm going to change that language set. Thank you very much. You establish policies to guide the district operations. You approve, obviously, the annual budget, and that takes a lot of work from Barbara and her staff to bring the budget to you. Once the budget comes to you, you have the conversations about how you're going to move forward, what you can live with, what you can't live with. You set a recommended percentage increase you're going to try to stick to. That's your job. Obviously, you evaluate, hire, and support your superintendent. You approve curriculum and graduation requirements. Graduation requirements aren't a big approval because we're really much guided by state statute for the graduation requirements. You authorize contracts, obviously the teacher's contract. You authorize personnel nominations and collective bargaining agreements. You make sure that you have safe, equitable learning environments across your schools and represent the community's values and interests in representing your community. The superintendent acts as the chief executive officer, implements your board policies, will prepare the district and present the district budget, will recruit, supervise, and evaluate all staff, and she can also have some people also delegate that job to obviously principals. They're going to evaluate their teachers. It is required that the superintendents do evaluate all first-year teachers. She's going to provide curriculum leadership. Either she'll be doing that, or she'll be doing that through staff. She will oversee the facilities, operations, and safety. Although you're going to make sure you're going to have a budget for it, and you're going to approve your safety plan, she's going to oversee the conditions, the needs of the facilities, and your operations, and obviously your safety plan. She's going to keep you informed, and then of all the decisions that need to be made, making professional recommendations, and then she'll engage with staff, families, and the community on behalf of the district. So you want your superintendent to be seen and available out in the community and and in classrooms and with supporting students. So this is where I say know your lane. You recognize it's not your responsibility to operate the schools, but to see that they're well operated and efficiently operated. And so that goes back to those three things that I mentioned, really are the three most important things that, that you do as a board member. So I want to talk briefly about the role of the board chair, because the board chair does have additional responsibilities, although no more power in vote. But the board chair does have additional responsibilities. There are times when this can become a bit of contention where other board members feel like the board chair has more information. But it's very common for a superintendent to pick up the phone, talk to the board chair, say, this has got a situation, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And it might be just a little small situation, they talk about it, she addresses it, doesn't become an issue, it's not a big deal. Or it's a big deal and this is what we've got, this is what I'm thinking, and then they have to decide how to communicate with you. As a superintendent, I didn't do anything via email. I just didn't want email to take on a life of its own. I had an amazing administrative assistant that would pick up the phone and make all the phone calls I needed, or there'd be a text message. If you got a text from me saying, do you have time for a call? That meant, we need to talk to you, and like yesterday. So the board chair serves as the official spokesman for the board communication. So your board chair, Gene, is the spokesman. He is spokesperson for the board. He does work closely with the superintendent to set the meeting agendas, and he will preside, obviously, over all your meetings. He facilitates effective board governance and making sure that people are participating. As I always said as superintendent, silence means consent. So if you're at a meeting and you're talking about an item on the agenda and you don't say anything from my perspective, except told me that you were agreeing with everything, it's your board chair's job to make sure that everyone has a voice at the table and does have a chance to speak up and share their thoughts if they're not sharing it during a conversation. He does act as a liaison between the board and the superintendent. If you have a committee, he can assign you to a committee. Usually it's a lot nicer if you volunteer and he doesn't have to assign, but if you need a committee to do some work on the side, that he certainly can ask you to do that. He represents the board at official functions, so when it was our budget meetings, our board chair would always welcome people to our budget meetings. We were a community school district, so we were considered our own municipality, so we had our own budget meetings separate from the two towns that our district was part of. And so our board chair would take that role and be the official greeter and welcome people at that event. He's going to lead you in evaluating the superintendent. He's going to provide guidance and support to other board members. This comes when maybe a board member is not following policy or doesn't want to follow policy. There needs to be a conversation between your board chair and that board member, just saying, you took an oath of office, this is our policy, we all need to be following. So those are times when he might have to pick up the phone to make sure that you're still working as a team. And he ensures that the board speaks with one voice once decisions are made. So this is also something that's important to discuss, is that as a member of the team, once the board has voted to on a motion to move forward in a certain way, and you didn't support that vote, you wanted to move in a different way. Once the team has voted, it is every board member's job to make sure that that decision or that vote is as successful and as effective as possible. Going down to the coffee shop and complaining about the board members, complaining about the vote, complaining about whatever it is, doesn't serve you well at all, because you set the culture of this district. And the way you function at a public board meeting is actually really does trickle down into the classrooms. And I had two specific teaching jobs. One was in Hackettstown, New Jersey, the home of Eminem and Mars. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, so just so you know, I came back to the States, and that's where I ended up in getting to college. But it was that at that time, it was a very contentious time in the district. And I knew on Monday morning that there was a board meeting, because you stayed clear away from the principal's office, and you just kept your head down and you just did your work, and you didn't ruffle any feathers, because there was a lot of stress in that building because of what was going on. The next district I worked in was in Maine, and I never knew when there was a board meeting, because the culture at the board was so collaborative and so focused on making decisions on what's best for kids. And they had this incredible ability to agree to disagree. And they all supported a vote of the board once the board voted, even if you didn't agree with it. You just didn't know. And that was the culture of our whole school district. So it's incredibly important to know that not only do you set the tone for out in the public on how you're going to manage your district's most precious commodity, you set the tone for the culture in your school district. And that's based on how you interact and how you work together. And that is luckily for Gene, that's his job to make sure that that tone is kept as positive as possible. But I don't think boards really realize how influential they are in setting the climate and the culture in their schools. And so it's an honor to be doing the work that you're doing. I thank you for doing the work that you're doing because you really are setting the culture and the climate and the tone for this district so that kids can get the very best education that they deserve as they move forward. The next handout I want to talk about is your Code of Ethics, and it's handout number 4. And it's a policy. It's policy DCA. It was adopted in September 9. It was amended September 9 of 24. And once again, this policy was adopted by the school board. This once again tells you how you will function, how you will hold yourself, how you will carry yourself forward as a board member. So you see your service as a way to serve your community. Obviously, you're going to think of children first. You're not going to make any disparaging remarks about other school committee members and their opinions. You remember, as an individual, you have no legal authority. Obviously, you understand that your job is not to operate the schools, but to see that they're well operated. You're going to seek to provide education for the children in your community, commensurate with their needs and their abilities. You're going to encourage citizens to follow the recognized chain of command. That comes when you have a complaint, when there's an issue, go to the superintendent and let them know. You're going to let the superintendent know, especially when they get a complaint, and then she will take it from there and make sure that the appropriate people are contacted and that the process for looking into a concern will start after that. This is policy. You will support a decision graciously once it's been made by the majority of the school board. I can't emphasize that enough, that how important that is in your role as board members. You won't criticize employees publicly, but once again, if you do hear criticism, you'll bring it to the superintendent. You're going to make decisions based once you've heard all of the facts of the case. So it's easy. I was a superintendent at the end of the peninsula, which you would think was an island 50 miles offshore, especially in the wintertime. We're only 12 miles off mainland, off the Route 1, but Hannaford was our breeding ground for information that came our way. And I always said you needed to make sure you had reliable information from responsible sources. And that's really important for you folks to make sure that when you do hear a question or hear a comment, that you need to weigh whether this is reliable information, is this a responsible source? But go ahead, Stephanie.
Did I hear you correctly? If someone complains to us, you're saying that we're supposed to encourage them to go to the superintendent and then she will disperse it?
So you can do one or two, all right? You can say you talked to the teacher. You can say you spoke to the principal. But I do think you must call the superintendent to let them know that happened.
Because our policy states for people to start at the lowest common denominator, so to speak.
Absolutely.
So encouraging them to work it out with the teacher and then to escalate it from there.
And that is your complaint policy that starts there. But at the same time, you've heard the complaint, you've asked those questions, you've encouraged them to do that. Your superintendent still needs to know that conversation. Yes.
But to encourage them not to go to the superintendent directly, but to the lowest.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Yep.
So I noticed in the board member oath of office, it talks about, abiding by the laws of the state of Maine, and that language kind of repeats itself in the Code of Ethics letter R. Pretty much, I will abide by the laws of the state. It just seems like there are some issues that have state and federal components. I didn't know if I'm reading too much into this, but does that mean the priority is state law?
Federal law trumps state law, but it has to be law. So there are some boards and some decisions right now that are being made based on an executive order. Executive orders are in place to tell the federal agencies how to conduct their business, but it's not written law. So that's where the debate comes in.
Gotcha.
That's a great question. So right now, yes, federal law, written law trumps state law, but executive orders are not considered federal law. They're guidance for federal agencies to how to conduct their business. And thank you for asking that. This goes on as far as making decisions openly after all the facts have been heard. You're not going to promise someone how you're going to vote. You won't discuss confidential business outside of the school committee or in your home. You're going to confine your school committee action to policy making, planning, and appraisal, or finding appraisal of programming. Obviously, you're going to see that all schools have financial adequate support. You won't use your position to benefit yourself or your children, and you will attend all meetings and come prepared. And that, as Jean said, you will abide by the laws of the state and the regulations formulated by the Maine Department of Education and the State Board of Education. So this is a policy. This is what you're required to follow. It was adopted and it was revised recently. So once again, this is what's nice about your policy menu, is it tells you how you're going to carry yourself forward as a board member. So what does ethics and practice look like? It represents the entire district when making decisions. You understand your role of the board, or encourages an open exchange of ideas. Ethics means you're going to work with board members in a conscientious and courteous manner, and you're going to avoid conflicts of interest. And you are going to have conflicts of interest, but the manner in which you have a conflict of interest speaks highly about how you're going to function as a board. Agreeing to disagree is incredibly important. So I'm going to stop here right now. I have in the handouts, I have a couple things that I do want to talk about. I just want to make sure you're aware of. And put these down here. Get to the table of contents. So we've talked about the roles and responsibilities. We've talked about ethics and practice. We do have a couple other. We have in your packet, I do have the Code of Ethics and then Robert's Rules as a quick reference guide. And that's handout number 5. I just bring that to your attention to make sure you're aware of that. School committee use of electronic communication. My presentation or my words on that is just don't. And I did steal the Ghostbusters little ghost with the round circle and across the line through it. Just don't. Just avoid using social media to discuss any type of school board business. Obviously, you shouldn't be discussing business via email or electronically or via social media. Do not get into a debate on social media about school issues. And once again, if there's something going on social media that you see and you feel the superintendent needs to know about it, make sure that she does know about that. But social media is just not a place to be discussing or debating, obviously, school business. Obviously, email is not a public forum, and it should not be used also to be discussing any type of school board business. It's a great place to say we're having a workshop. We're starting at 5:30 on September 8th in the high school library. That's a great use of email for this board. Anything else that goes out? Now, I would send things out as an FYI, and it would be always a reminder, please do not respond, do not reply. If you have questions, call me. And then individual board members would call me. So if there was something that I needed to make sure I gave you the heads up on. I would do it that way. But it was not a place for you folks to start making decisions outside of board meetings. So you don't want to lose that public trust. And the minute you start making decisions outside of board meetings, or the minute you start emailing each other and lining up who's going to vote this way and lining up that who's going to vote that way, eventually it's going to get out there, and you don't want to lose that public trust, especially as you were taking care of your community's children.
We don't have this as a policy. Are you saying that we should have it?
I'm saying it's a sample policy that you would probably want to look at. Which one are you talking about?
BEB?
You don't have a social media policy? Okay. Yeah, so that certainly is a policy. Well, you might, and we didn't pick it up.
Is it school committee related specific social media, or is it?
It's school committee related specific. So let me go to.
We have a school department.
We can just check that at a
You
later
have a
time.
BEA.
BEA.
You have BEA. And school committee use of electronic communication. So there's one BEB, that's our sample. Yours is a little bit different, but it's for the most part the same. It says the same thing, that you don't want to use it. You might want to add the Ghostbusters thing in there just to remind you. And then obviously complaints, the Herman policy, KE, you have your handling of complaints. You have the policy, and then our sample policy, which is slightly different, but not not hugely different. Public comment at board meetings, and then you have a sample of your board staff evaluation that I've included in that. So at this point, I just want to take a pause and answer any questions that you folks might have. Barb, do you have anything you want me to address or haven't addressed? Or?
I don't think so. This has been a good overarching review of everything.
It is a lot of information. It's about 30,000 feet up of everything, but there's devils in the details, and you know where to find them. The one thing I also want to point out is that in the left side of your packet, there's a couple pamphlets. One is a trifold, and it is for Maine school boards. This tonight, tomorrow night, and I want to say Thursday night, Steve Bailey, the former executive director of the Maine School Board Association, and now Eric Waddell, our current executive director, they're holding meetings, virtual meetings with school boards across the state several times a year. There are going to be 3 this week. I think there's going to be 3 in January and then 3 in May. Actually, this week, I think they're really talking about the delegate assembly that's going to take place at the fall conference and going over the resolutions that will be presented at delegate assembly. You should have gotten an email from MSBA saying that they're being held. We used to do them by regions. We're finding that people will attend a night that's open to them, but they may not attend if it's not their region, which was not the point. But it's a great place for you folks to get on, to learn, to meet other board members, to find out what issues are going on in your school, in their school committees. Maybe learn from them. Maybe it could be a resource for them, saying that happened with us and this is how we handled it. But it's a great place to really get to know other board members and across the state. The other thing is obviously the Maine School Management's Fall Conference is going to take place October 23rd and 24th in Augusta. That's that 2-day conference on Thursday and Friday. We have about 70 clinics, 20 law clinics. We have clinics on school safety, on attendance, on cell phones. I have a staff. I'm scheduling them right now. But on Wednesday night, we have the school board chair and vice chair workshop. It's Wednesday afternoon, and it is for board chairs, and that will be in Augusta. I think it's like 2 to 4:30. So if you're a new board chair or if you want to bring your vice chair, it's going to be about 50 board chairs and vice chairs, and it's a workshop just to focus on that role of that's so important. Yes.
So it's never somebody's intent not to follow policy, but if we as a committee see that a policy hasn't been followed, what's the protocol?
Well, let me ask that question with a question. Is it's not been followed or it didn't want to be followed?
Well, I would never assume, so it wasn't followed. I wouldn't know if it didn't want.
I think if you're seeing that policy has not been followed, I think you need to bring it to your board chair attention and you need to look at the policy and talk to the superintendent. Is it a policy that is no longer effective? Is it a policy that was adopted many years ago and no longer relevant? So why is the policy not being followed? It's because I disagree with it. That's not a reason not to follow policy, because it's statutes. I said everything I'm saying today is statute or is law. If someone's not following policy because they disagree with it, then I guess my question to that person is, would you expect your teachers to follow their contract? Would you expect your principals to follow the teacher's contract and enforce it? Would you expect your superintendent to enforce the teacher's contract and make sure that everyone's following it? Would you expect your superintendent to make sure everyone's following policy? And if the answers to those questions are all yes, then at what point do we say we don't have to play the game by the same rules? At what point does a board member say, I don't have to follow policy, but I expect everyone else to? So I think there's two different scenarios that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Is that a policy?
I'm not talking about a committee member not following one. I'm
Okay.
talking about our role is to ensure that the school policies are followed, correct?
Right.
So if we have concerns that one isn't followed, we reach out to Barb and it's up to her to follow up.
I'm sorry about my desktop. Anything else? And we got a team getting off a bus right now. Can't tell if they're looking happy or not. So thank you very much for having me here tonight. Thank you for doing the work that you do. I know it's not easy. I've enjoyed getting to know Barb and working with her. And once again, call me for any reason, or Eric Waddell. We're here to serve you and to make your jobs as easy as possible. Thanks.
Thank you.
I move to recess till 6:30.
Thank you.
Wait,
And then,
did you win?
Is it?
No, we did not.
That's all right.
I'm doing it.
Approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 4th, 2025.
No, you have to call us over first.
Oh, call to order. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 4th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, any abstentions? All in favor? Okay, any opposed? All right, unanimous. Just in terms of chair comments, obviously Anthony Reynolds is not here. I understand he's ill, so thoughts go out to Anthony for a speedy recovery. I'm friends with his daughter, Courtney, so just hopeful that everything's working out with Tony and his health. So thoughts with their family. And also, I see that we have student representatives here that I've met personally for the first time tonight, Aubrey Searway and Hannah Wanning. So welcome, guys. Thank you. And that's all I have for chair comments. I turn it over now to the superintendent report and the presentation of the strategic plan.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Good evening, everyone. Happy to see you, and again, another welcome to Aubrey and to Hannah. We're excited to have you here for the school year. So, committee members, you have seen versions of this strategic plan presentation since August 15th when I shared a draft with you, and I'm thankful for the really thoughtful remarks that many of you have sent my way. It's helped me to refine the presentation, to narrow it down, to make sure that it is a recommendation to you that really addresses where I think our district is heading. Let me give you a little bit of background here. What I will be presenting to you tonight is really, for me, a final draft version of a strategic plan that I would recommend carries us over the next 3 years, as well as district goals for this particular school year. As a reminder to all of us, we have a mission statement for the district. This is actually broadly posted on our high school website, and in our high school, our mission is preparing students for personal success in college, career, and community. And everything I'm going to share with you this evening really does toggle back and reflect back on that mission statement. When we talk about a strategic planning process, for me, a strategic plan is really a roadmap. It lets us know where we're going. It lets us know what will hold our focus along the way. And it helps us to all row in the same direction. When I'm working with a community to develop a strategic plan, I gather data through a number of ways. And you all know, because I've kept you updated on all of this, I gathered data through an online survey, which went out to our parents, our town leaders, and our staff. And that was available from May 21st through till the end of June. So a good 4 or 5, almost 6 weeks of folks being able to comment online about things that they thought were going well in the schools, areas that they wish to see improvement on, and then a very open-ended section where people could throw out ideas about things that we should be considering. I held community intake sessions in person. One was in the morning on June 4th, one was in the evening on June 17th, and then I spent time with our faculty through their faculty meetings. Elementary school on May 21st, the middle school on May 28th, and the high school on June 4th. And that was a really engaging opportunity for me really to learn, as a newcomer, to learn from the staff members about what's going well, what are they proud of, what are they interested in seeing come to Herman schools. And I think what makes that even more critical is that so many of our faculty live in the community and are parents in the community. And so they wear those two hats. And so their feedback is incredibly worthwhile. So I took all that data once school wrapped up, once we had graduation finished, and I really spent the month of July living with it. And if you visited me in my office, you saw those charts all over the place with sticky notes, and we began to organize the data by key subject area and then also by trends. So here's what began to fall out as I was reading through everyone's input. Some common ideas began to emerge pretty clearly. There were a number of ideas focused on technology, not only from a security, keeping students safe standpoint, but then also student practices. How are students using technology? What do students need to know about using technology to be an effective learner and to be safe? There were a number of comments regarding budgeting and funding, as you can imagine. I think that's common in all school communities at this point. And then the third very common idea that came out was all related to instruction. And then when I dive deeper, comments about a team-driven approach to curriculum development, teachers really wanting to work together, not only within their department, but across grade levels, so that you would see consistency from what happens between 3rd and 4th grade to what's happening in 5th and 6th grade, what's happening in 7th and 8th grade into what happens in 9th grade and beyond. A keen interest in differentiated professional opportunities, so not a one-size-fits-all training opportunity, teachers really recognizing that they're all at very different stages in their teaching career and have different interests and needs and would like professional training that reflects that. Very high academic standards, and we heard that from parents and from teachers, that not only do they feel that they have that in many areas, but they want to see that continue and to be a focus. There were a number of remarks about exploring visual and performing arts and ways to expand that in a pre-K through 12 setting, and there were a number of remarks about enhancing mathematics instruction. So then as I take that and I begin to identify, okay, how do we spell this into key priorities? I began to take it and aim it at students' academic experiences, developing teachers and leaders, and financial sustainability. And those 3 buckets really capture all of the different comments that have been made. And then from there, began to outline specific objectives for each key priority. So I also want to add in that not only is the strategic plan heavily guided by the input of our parent community, our staff, school committee members have the same opportunity to respond to surveys and to give feedback, but I also was always keeping in the back of my head an understanding of good instructional practices. What are the practices that school districts engage in and make that really keep them and their students successful? So let's take a look at what we have. Parents, when they were adding their survey feedback, I wanted to make sure I highlighted this because it's always nice to get great feedback and to remind our teachers and our leaders about this. Some very specific comments from the parent surveys, such as, we moved here to give our children a better opportunity, and it was the best thing we did. Just giving the kids the opportunity to learn and grow. Amazing teachers and staff who truly care about the students. An interest in expanding on academic opportunities and great communication. So it's nice to enter into a planning environment when that largely reflects the feedback that parents have about their students' experiences here in Herman. So if we take that first bucket of student achievement, I crafted a little bit of a longer priority statement, which is cultivate an academic environment that fosters critical thinking, creativity, and innovation. So let's go through the 10 objectives that are listed here. And I want to make the point that in a strategic plan, these are broad. We may end up over the 3 years of going through these that some of these morph over time. Some of them we may get to very, very quickly. Some of them we may be at year 3 and just feel, you know what, this is no longer working for us, or we've done other things that touch on it and that suffices. So I want to make sure that we understand a strategic plan, while it certainly should remain rather stable as we move through the years, is also an organic document and really is responsive to the various opportunities, the various situations that occur in any school community over the coming years. Objective 1 says that we will develop a curriculum renewal plan that outlines revision of all curriculum documents by the 27-28 school year, with alignment especially to the portrait of a graduate work that's going on at Herman High School. This is an opportunity to take that very good thinking and those conversations about what we want in our graduates as they leave our hallways, and to go back and embed that in curriculum so that our elementary and our middle schoolers are beginning to learn those same goals about self-advocacy and good decision-making and critical thinking. So it's not just a high school objective, it really becomes district-wide. We would like to implement an AI vision and best practices for Herman staff and students. And board members, you've heard me talk before about partnerships that we have this year with Magic School and contracts that we've signed that will bring in some AI connections at our high school for this year. We would like to expand dual credit options for high school students so that we create students who are able to be even more prepared, whether it's moving into workplace, moving into community college, four-year college, or military. We'd like to implement a digital literacy program in K-8. That speaks directly to the comments that we saw about student safety online, student good practices with technology. Objective number 5, expand visual and performing arts opportunities for students. You saw that reflected earlier with a number of statements about expanding pre-K through 12 opportunities in visual and performing arts. That will come up later when we talk about district goals, because there's one specific thing that I think we can begin to tackle this year. We'd like to develop consistent rigor in the district math program and implement a pathway that offers geometry or algebra 2 in grade 8. Want you to notice that I've not addressed a specific math program. I've not addressed anything about resources there. The overall goal, however, is developing rigor in the math program, which means going back to have conversations with our teachers about how are we using our current program? What evidence do we have that lets us know our students are successful or not in it? And then where do we go from there? But I think having a pathway that creates geometry or algebra 2 in grade 8 for our students is something that a number of very successful school districts offer, and we can certainly do that. We'd like to increase the number of high school students who earn career certifications, such as cybersecurity certificates, certified nursing assistants, because not all of our students will go to a 2 or 4-year university. And so to be able to offer a pathway, whether they're doing that through Herman High School, whether they're doing that through UTC, but expanding those opportunities so that students may walk out of here with career certificates and be able to go directly into the workplace and be so highly skilled that they're barely being paid and compensated at a really high rate. We'd like to implement a middle school workforce introduction CTE type course taught for 8th graders. This speaks to some of the comments that we saw in surveys about offering more life skills and financial skills opportunities at younger pre-high school ages. Objective number 4 speaks to strengthening academic supports in order to accelerate learning for students who are not yet performing at grade level expectations. There were a number of comments made in our surveys and in our intake sessions about 2 different things. One, students who may have been classified as special education children at a younger age, who now are performing with their peers, are no longer classified, no longer receiving special education support. But then how do we continue to help them a little bit so that it's not just you've had the support and now you don't? So that's one of the ways that we want to continue to offer some assistance there. And the second is just recognizing that anytime you have a break in a transition, you're 4th to 5th grade. Now they're going to a new school, even though it's just, a hike and a walkway away, a new school with a different school leadership and different teachers, and then another break between 8 and 9, where now they're coming into a high school, and there are other students coming from another community in that high school. Anytime you have those transitions, it's always a chance, if you're not paying attention, for students to fall through the cracks a little bit. And so making sure that we're strengthening our transition programs with academic support so that that's not happening. And finally, objective 10, designing and implementing personal finance common life skills instructions to students in grades 5 through 12. So all of this begins to ladder back up to that goal of student achievement and is reflective in the remarks made by our parent community, our town leaders, our faculty about things that not only that matter to them about what they want to see their children having experiences with, but is also highly reflective in just smart school practices. I'm going to pause here. Any questions on priority number 1? Okay. Priority 2, which is the bucket that speaks to teacher and district leadership, says that we will energize district, school, and teacher leadership to create an innovative and dynamic learning community. Because we know that we want to be able to have an environment that our teachers want to teach in, where they feel supported so that we can keep them. It's a difficult hiring field right now, and we want to make sure that Herman is a place that attracts strong teachers and keeps them. So objective number 1 under this priority is that we will expand induction and mentoring and growth of leaders throughout the district. The administrative intern program that our school committee members were so supportive of is one example of that. We want to recruit, retain, and support a high-quality employee workforce, making sure that we're creating a place where teachers' ideas matter, where they have an opportunity to support their colleagues, and to participate in decision-making through committees at the district level. We'd like to support a process for curriculum to be written and piloted by district educators so that we're not purchasing canned programs and just taking what someone else has created. We're researching, we're practicing, we're making decisions, and then we're applying that knowledge to the curriculum that we write and that we teach. I'd like to invite a committee of teachers and administrators to review our teacher evaluation model and offer some recommendations for enrichment, and that would be in collaboration with our Herman Education Association and the very fine leadership there. Objective number 5, we'd like to evaluate and revitalize transition programs for pre-K through college and career. And that speaks to more of making sure that our practices in one school represent our practices in all 3 schools. And finally, to build a framework of social and emotional learning. Years ago, that might have been referred to as character education, but with all that has happened in the nation and in our state and in our community over the past several years, we know that we need to be helping our students to regulate themselves, advocate for themselves, and begin to make decisions for themselves that help them to be safe, a good friend, a good student, and a good family member. Committee members, any questions or remarks on priority 2?
This is my fault. I didn't realize this is a final reading, but has the baseline been established for all these objectives so that we can effectively measure to know if we've hit it?
So you're asking about data points.
Yeah.
And some of these will have data points, but what my practice typically, Mrs. Euler, is that I find, and we will do, October we'll have a student achievement report for the board, and so that's where you'll be able to dive in and we'll review AP data and SAT data and NWEA, and we'll go through all that. I find that when the focus is only on, we're going to improve SAT scores by such and such amount, then you're looking at one snapshot of an assessment versus if you're creating the programming behind that, and you're creating a strong foundation such as rigorous math, expanded visual and performing arts, because we know that kids who accelerate in music end up having those skills transferred to lots of other academic areas as well. That when you do those things, you also see the scores rise. So I've not created we're going to see this much, but I am going to make sure that I'm tying annually a student achievement report so that we are tracking over time. Here's our growth here. Here's our growth here.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and I apologize. I didn't email it in advance. So thank you.
Priority number 3 is that fiscal sustainability bucket, which matters so much. And we aim to ensure institutional and financial sustainability in the face of economic and demographic challenges. The goals under this priority include conducting an energy audit, developing a long-range facility plan so that we can guide planning and capital improvement expenses, to partner effectively with the town to generate a fiscally sustainable budget that supports the school department's strategic plan, to critically examine patterns of spending to realize savings and gain efficiencies, to enhance communications and information provided to families and the community, and enhance stakeholder and community understanding about school finance and the complexities of the budget, and to develop and implement a 3-year district technology plan. Each of these, I find that when you've thought through that work, when you have a facility, a long-range facility plan, when you have a 3 or a 5-year technology plan, you know what costs to expect over the next several years, and then you make budgeting decisions accordingly. I often have said in other communities, when we're looking at curriculum revision, you never revise your math and your science at the same time because those are the 2 most expensive programs that you have. So you want to make sure from a budgeting perspective, you're being really wise in what you're tackling in a given year, and you're making choices on what's really critical and what perhaps could wait a year because we have other more pressing issues for a budget. Any comments or questions on priority 3? Okay. So we take those big picture items, and now what we do is we ladder them down, we trickle them down into specific district goals, department goals. So there is that priority number 1, cultivating an academic environment. For this year, out of that list of 10 objectives, here is my recommendation for what we start to focus on. We develop a curriculum renewal plan. Obviously, we're not going to wrap it all up by 2000, or we're not going to do it all this year because the timeline is out through 2027-28, but we begin to implement the work defined for this coming school year. If you've had a chance to peek at that, you'll see that it's my recommendation, and actually I appreciated the guidance of the other district leaders. We thought social studies would be a good place to start. I've had a number of teachers say that they really would like to either have better guidance on social studies, they'd like to look at different resources for social studies, and I know that having Mr. Walsh as a former history teacher, we have someone who's really interested in making sure that we're offering terrific opportunities for kids. It's also a non-tested area, so it's a smart area to begin to wade into with our curriculum work. It gives us time to review some of the assessment data for the other content areas so that when we do begin to tackle those areas, we've got some benchmark data to begin to focus on. I suggest that we define the school department's vision for generative AI. We've already initiated a partnership with Magic School at the high school level only. I do believe that our work this year will define what, if anything, we do at the pre-K through 8 level, but this gives us an opportunity to train our high school teachers to use the platform for instructional planning and delivery. I suggest we create and implement a digital literacy program in K through 8 that promotes online safety for students, promotes research best practices, ethical use of technology, and foundational information literacy skills. So those are a lot of big words. What do I mean by that? I mean that we should have opportunities for our elementary school students learning from their librarian and their classroom teachers that if they're doing research online for a science project, for a social studies project, that they're first of all recognizing where's the data coming from. Is it a reliable source? Is it a source that has some inherent bias in it? And then how do you recognize that as a 4th grader? The opportunity to build in some healthy skepticism with our students as they're engaging in online resources, I think is a very healthy habit to begin to promote. So those are the sorts of behaviors that I think we absolutely can begin to do this year and expand on it. A lot of these are not just, okay, we've done it this year and we're finished, we check it off. We start it this year, we deepen the work, and then it begins to spread into other areas as we move through the years. Those would be my suggestion for district goals under that first priority. Under priority 2, energize district, school and teacher leadership. My suggestion is that we provide professional development that promotes teacher leadership and provides teacher agency in training opportunities, such as include teacher presenters during professional development days and compensate them accordingly. I shared with our school committee members that I had sent out a survey to our district staff last week as we prepare for our October Professional Development Day, asking the teachers, what do they feel they need? What do they need to be able to do their job better? And, by the way, is anybody really strong on something that they'd be comfortable presenting to their peers? And so I have that data beginning to come in. The Professional Development Committee will review that with me, and we'll begin to take that and let it guide us in our October and future services. I'd like to invite a committee of teachers and administrators to review our teacher evaluation model and offer recommendations for enrichment that we would implement in the next school year. I'd like to work with providing positive pre-K through 12 transition programs for our students and families. On tonight's agenda is the opportunity to support 2 administrative interns who will help us to achieve our district goals and gain valuable leadership skills at the same time. And then to continue the work we've already started with our District Professional Development Committee and our Gen AI Task Force. I think anytime we have teachers at the table with us, talking through decisions, giving us their valuable input, it really makes that end result even stronger and better informed. Any comments on those? And our final bucket of institutional and financial sustainability for this year as a district goal. I recommend partnering with the town to generate a fiscally sustainable budget that supports our district goals, conduct an energy audit, develop a long-range facility plan to guide planning and capital improvement expenses. Again, that's simply developing the plan. We decide what of that we tackle in each year. Develop and implement a 3-year district technology plan, and publish regular district newsletters to promote accomplishments, events, student and teacher successes, and budget information. I think the more we remind our public about the work that we're doing behind the scenes to generate a fiscally responsible budget, makes it not be a surprise in March and April when suddenly now we're doing public meetings. If we've done it well, we've been feeding them that information along the way. So what would come next? Whenever I work with a strategic plan in a school community, I always ask our administrative team that they develop professional goals related to those objectives. That way we're all working on the same thing. Right? Now clearly, some of the objectives that I've laid out for you won't apply in all of our schools. And yet some of them will have a piece in every school. So our principals have already begun designing their professional goals for this year. That's how I will evaluate them. Those are conversations we'll have throughout the year. And those will all ladder back up to our strategic planning goals and the more specific objectives and district goals. I always come back and give a progress report to the school committee, usually in January, so that you can see where we're at. Here's how things are going. And then I always give a final report to the school committee at the end of the school year. School committee members, this is also one of the critical ways in which you will evaluate my leadership. I know you also have a superintendent evaluation template that you've probably used in the past, but how I have implemented district goals and my success in that, this is one of the key areas that you'll come back and evaluate me on. That's my recommendation for strategic plan and district goals for this evening. I'll leave it open if folks have questions or comments.
Looks like a lot of hard work went into it.
You know what? It's thrilling because there are a lot of good things happening here, and to be able to pinpoint those next steps that will continue to help us grow, I think is really exciting.
Any other comments?
did voice or send you a message with some concerns, and I think, Dr. Sargent, you really put a light on it for me when you said this is what we will be evaluating you against. And I want you to know that any of my concerns are purely based off of, I want to make sure that we have this, because we use the term we, so it is our strategic plan. If we are producing a strategic plan that we will evaluate you on, it is a fair and sets you up and therefore sets us up for success. And I have to be honest to you and the community, I don't believe I and we have set you up for success so far. So that is why I have reservations about the strategic plan that you have put before us tonight. And one of my major concerns is, as Mrs. Euler brought up, we don't have a consolidated or a single mission statement. We have three. There's some philosophical debates on whether a vision is needed or whether a good mission statement is required. We don't have a vision and we don't have a good mission statement. And then the data that you're using is needed, absolutely needed. But I also look at that data as soft data in that it's done through surveys, interviews, people. I don't have an understanding or a picture of our current status as a school department. One lane being student outcomes. It's been something that I've been speaking very strongly about for the last 2 years, and I don't have a picture on student outcomes. So I feel very hesitant, and I feel like I would be negligent if I were to allow you to do a strategic plan without having any idea of where we sit right now with as far as student outcome. It is very difficult to plan a future when we don't have an understanding of where we are right now. And then there's the other physical or hard data points that are based off in financial sustainability that I think we owe, that is owed to us and then we owe to you, and then our physical structure. In regards to, I know that there was a report done on our facilities, but it wasn't understood. It was just kind of put out there. What is our physical structure? And where do we, as a committee and a community, want our strategic plan to take this physical structure over the next 3 years? So any hesitation or appearance of non-support is based because I want to make sure that we set you and us up for the most success, and I really feel like we haven't done that. So that's my thoughts with it. I really want to know where we are before we can clearly state where we want to go. And I used to joke, and I look over at Mr. Walsh, because I would sarcastically talk about our vision. And I would say our vision is that I want Herman to be the global high school by 2035. That's an outlandish vision, but I would say that because we don't have a consolidated single vision of what we want the Herman School Department to be, not in 2035, but heck, how about 2027? So we're writing a strategic plan for 3 years when we don't really know where we're going to be next year. And something that significantly concerns me when I look at the rest of the committee is the plan talks very good, it addresses very positively growing our academics, which I very much like. It's something we all need to do, is we want to grow our academic performance. But we made, and we are likely to be faced in the next 12 to 24 months with a resource constraint that would require us to consolidate and reduce our academic offerings, because that has happened in the last 6 months. So it's a concern that I have with the plan, because the plan doesn't address what if we have to consolidate or shrink. It talks very much about where we want to grow. So in an attempt to ensure that you are successful, I'm very concerned about this, and that's for those reasons.
So I will say, having come from school communities where we're held to a 2% growth cap, And I've still been able to implement such initiatives as full-day kindergarten without budget increases, a Mandarin language program without budget increases, a STEM lab without budget increases. I know how to do that. And when I talk about growing programs and offering a pathway for 8th graders to be in geometry or algebra 2, to maybe begin to implement band instruction in grade 4, that's done with the understanding that it doesn't necessarily come with increased staff, that we look to use and make more efficient decisions about scheduling and staffing so that we're able to do those things within the fiscal parameters that we're all faced with.
I have no doubts on your abilities to do that. I know we've had great discussions on that, and I would even like to see Mandarin come to Herman. You know, that's not the point. The point is I feel very obligated to ensure that the conditions are set for you in our schools to be successful. And I do not feel comfortable with those conditions right now because I don't have the data. As I've messaged you before, I'm a data decision maker. I don't know how any of us can look at this and say that we have the data to agree to this. It's not that we disagree with it. I don't have the information to make a decision or support either way is the biggest hang up I have right now. And again, that's my personality. I'm a data-driven person. But I don't have the data to support this.
And I understand and
like
respect that. I would question back, is there any objective or goal that is vehemently opposed to what we want our students or our own children to have as they move through our schools?
I'm not opposed to any of that. The issue is, if we're going to have a strategic plan, in my mind, it needs to be realistic and attainable within the timeline of the goals that we set forth of 3 years. And I have concerns, not whether it's good for our school, but whether it's attainable, period, and then attainable within the next 3 years. And then whether a resource should even be applied to that based on the fact of where we may or may not be standing with student outcome, because I don't have that student outcome data. And I was very critical of the curriculum changes in courses they wanted to implement last year based on the lack of student data. I feel I have to apply the same standard now. The lack of student data doesn't support some of these, not that I disagree with them. And those are my concerns, that's all. Not that I disagree with it, I don't have any information to support it.
Any further comment?
I appreciate your thoughts, Brian, and I think as I hear you say that, I could see, I think there's things in here that element of caution makes a lot of sense. And then I think there's also some smaller, maybe more tangible nuggets in here that are achievable, not costly. They're in line with what the community's asked for. It's sort of best practice in education. So how can we tease that apart? What's really big and out of reach? And I'm not saying I don't know that there's anything here that is for me, but how do we parse out the macro from the micro?
Yeah, I understand and agree with what you're saying. And what you're stating is you're really talking about dialing back from the strategic plan, because that's where we want to go.
Right. So I look at the long-range facility plan in priority 3-year district technology plan. Like, are some of those things going to get us at a square one? Like where this is where we're at. We're assessing the state of our buildings, our campuses, things like that, and then we go from there. Is that
Yes.
part of that vision?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose I'm supposed to push this. Right, and I don't want to be, the point isn't to dig this apart. That's not my concern. Mm-hmm. But if you want to dig into some of the lines of it, conduct an energy audit. Absolutely, we needed to conduct an energy audit. Absolutely agree with it. It isn't in the budget for this year. So are we setting our superintendent up for success when we say our 25-26 goal, we want to conduct an energy audit. It's not the budget, so we're already not setting her up for success.
There are also organizations that will do it for nothing, and especially to school communities.
So am I setting you up for success by saying that, well, if you can go out and find a freebie on it, then we're going to run with it? I mean, all the energy audits that I have done, been involved with, have had cost to it for what you're looking for, to find out the real depth of what you're looking for. Same comes with our facility survey that we had last year. It's time, it's money. It wasn't budgeted, so it isn't that conducting an energy audit I disagree with. Absolutely, we need to do it. It's not. It wasn't planned for this year. It's those sort of things that I'm really tripping over.
Do you guys want to talk more about this later in the agenda?
Sure.
Because I think it comes up in instruction later on. Any more comments right now? Thank you, Dr. Sargent.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any student reports? Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. JRTC has started our annual partnership with Coles Land Transportation Museum. We'll be helping up with their 3 upcoming events. Senior Sunrise was August 27th, and we had over half of our class attend. Huge thanks to our class advisors and our senior parents for organizing the event and providing the food.
And we've been doing a lot to welcome everyone, and NHS did a welcome for each of our classes in front of the school, like written in chalk on the front of the wall, which was really cool. And tomorrow, Student Council is hosting a freshman block party, which has a bunch of get-to-know-you questions and snacks, and they're gonna educate them on what an intervention is and how we use that.
Very good, thank you. Turning to subcommittee reports, we have finance and facility. I think that's Brian.
It's supposed to have been Tony. We did have a finance committee meeting, a subcommittee advisory meeting on September 3rd. Tony, myself, Dr. Sargent, and the principals attended, as well as Ms. Youngblood via phone. The monthly warrants and AP voucher details were provided to the subcommittee in the form of a AP voucher detailed sheet, and it was a pretty thick sheet. And we went through we went through that entire stack for the month. We did come up with 3 questions that are listed there for you, which was a question about a pump replacement and the cost of it. And by the way, none of the questions were whether the purchase was valid. It was a question of impact. So a question about a 12,000 pump replacement, circular pump for the elementary school, and was it budgeted, and what is the budget impact? Discussion on image learning system here at the high school, and the credit recovery, and it was the cost. I just had a question about it, and Mr. Walsh did a very good job of reminding me and educating me on that. And there was also a question on the high school backflow purchase of a backflow valve of $2,400. Again, it wasn't a question of whether it was a valid purchase. None of those 2 purchases were not budgeted. So what is the impact on our projects in that budget line? We discussed the contract for the Cross Insurance Center for Herman High School graduation, and the date has been set, and the contract was signed. So there was the down payment, the initial payment on that we discussed. The Herman Middle School paving project is completed. It came in under budget. It was budgeted $175,000. It came in at $158,000. All those funds were targeted from our capital reserve, so that will be a savings to our reserve account. There was a fire pump that failed at the middle school. It is being replaced. It was covered under insurance. It's a $1,000 deductible. However, it was over a $32,000 bill, but that is being replaced and repaired. There was an issue with a high school pole vault mats at the track due to rodent infestation over the summer, and the mats are no longer usable. It's a $25,000 replacement cost, and I believe we're looking at insurance to see if that can be covered. The department has locked in our heating oil fuel for the winter. You can see there that we were able to come in at $2.46 a gallon when we were budgeted at $2.65. So there is some savings there. And there was also, just so you can remind you on the fuel budget, I believe it was $100,000 was coming out of our fuel reserve. I'd have to relook the numbers. But some of that budget was coming out of our fuel reserve, so that will ultimately save our reserve funding. Mrs. Youngblood provided an update on the new time clock system for the employees and the implementation of it at the beginning of this school year. And all of the reports was it's a transitional period. They're making sure that it's going well and there are no issues at this time. And expect to have a successful full implementation of that. We discussed the athletic trainer contract and how that has shifted. It was in the budget. There are no concerns on that contract. And then the Child Development Services Partnership contract was also briefly discussed. Again, it was in the budget, and there were no concerns. We provided feedback from the audit for the fiscal year, and we're still waiting on the final numbers on the FY25 budget. And then part of the audit was that the question was, do we have any ability to find other means of income within the school? And there was a brief discussion on rental fees and facilities and how those could be used to be a revenue stream in the future. And then Dr. Sargent provided a draft budget timeline, which was very helpful. It also includes the town timeline in it. So we're 3 months ahead of where we were in the past 2 years. And then I suggested that a dedicated budget workshop meeting be scheduled at a time once we have an established usable budget that will review the data prior to having it finalized at the town. So those were the major discussion points. If you have any questions, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, I just have one question on number 10 related to the auditor. When the auditor mentioned, I know you mentioned the rental fees, but in terms of making efficient use of reimbursement models provided by the main DOE, can you offer like an example of how that would look?
We did discuss that. I looked to Dr. Sargent for a specific example, but if we're providing something like the special education service, that we are involved in those grants, there are times that we can submit for reimbursement on certain funds, certain activities that we have not been maximizing. So it would not change our expense, but it would be somewhat, you could almost count it as a revenue because it would pay back a portion of the money that is expended on a certain service. And Dr. Sargent, if you want to correct me if I'm off on that one.
Are there other examples, or is that the primary one?
Special education is one of the biggest grants that we have, so it's the easiest one to use.
Any other questions for Brian?
Yeah, I had a question. Under number 2, it says approval of the contract is on the September 8th agenda. I didn't see that. Part of the reason why I'd asked for the high school activity report, because I wanted to know if the school is budgeting for the use of the Cross Insurance Center, because it's actually the seniors that do a lot of fundraising for that, and I wanted to be able to really see how those big dollars were flowing through. I know, for instance, the golf fundraiser is used, and I could be wrong, towards the Cross Insurance Center and prom. No?
That would be Mr. Chair on why it's not on the agenda.
My fault.
I happened to notice that the monthly warrants, having a summary of the sheet that you sign that lists out individually each warrant really, I think, is going to be helpful going forward in order to effectively know what we are approving for those. And then under number 10, did I hear you right, Mr. Venziano, that the 2025 numbers year end were not provided to you guys, or were they?
They have not been completely
closed now.
Okay, so I would just ask, could we get those numbers for the end of next month, please?
Yes, I've asked for them.
Yes, I know. So I really think it's crucial for us, especially since we're going into, I hate to say it again, but budget season. I think it's really important to see what lines we are over and under and why, because are we going to be in the future as well?
No, I agree.
And it looks like Principal Walsh may have a response to one of your questions, maybe.
I do. So we need to separate the two different sides of commencement. The school department pays for the Cross Insurance Center and the diplomas. The seniors pay for prom, banquet, class night, T-shirts, sunrise, sunset. Anything else I'm probably forgetting. So there's the social side of commencement, and then there's the actual graduation. So we, the school department, pay for that rental and then diplomas. Caps and gowns, that's the other big one I'm forgetting, thank you.
Roses.
And flowers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So but the school department pays for the rental facility, and then the diplomas and everything else is through the senior class. And Missouri, obviously the goal is if they raise enough money, they can do all those at no cost. And so that's the hope every year.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other comments on finance facility? Okay, moving on to policy and professional discussion. I think that's either John or Debbie.
I'll go this time. Debbie saved me last time. So, we met August 25th. Debbie, myself, Dr. Sargent, Principals Freeman and Walsh, and Ms. Panett. We reviewed some policies that are ready for second read that we'll be looking at tonight. The use of private vehicles for school business. Should I speak to the additions or just name the policy, or should I talk about the changes too?
If you'd like to, just for the good of the group, just share what was added, which we listed here.
Yeah. So within that policy about using private vehicles, we added language that if within the past 5 years, and that speaks to moving violations, which again we'll be more detailed about that in a bit. Grading and reporting systems at the high school, remove the language, these reports are issued to the student and mailed home, and we've added instead reports will be issued electronically except by special request. Grading and reporting system policy at the middle school, remove the language that these reports are mailed home after the quarter closes, and added instead reports will be issued electronically except by special request. And then we clarified language about reporting on habits of work in students. Policy around grading and reporting system at the elementary school. No new changes suggested. And then we looked at the emergency evacuation drills policy that has been reviewed and approved by the fire chief. And then some policies we looked at for first read consideration, the exit survey form. We recommended to remove the form as the exit survey is now an online form, so the physical document is obsolete. And then exit interviews for school employees, recommended to remove the last sentence. And then we also reviewed several draft policies for injury prevention, and we'll consider how best to organize the language into one comprehensive policy, if it even needs to land in a policy, I think is where we landed on that. So that's it.
Just had a quick question on the exit survey form. Is that it says recommend to remove the form. Is the same form now online? Is that what's happening? Or is it a different exit survey?
This was a conversation I had back with school committee members in May. The policy as it reads says that the survey that is to be developed is to be approved by the Herman School Committee and then attached to this policy. And there is a paper 2-page 14-question survey. And when I looked at the questions, first of all, I thought it could be done through a Google form with then an offer to have an in-person exit interview. And so I consolidated the questions. One of the questions, for example, is how could you have been more productive And I just felt that in some instances, if we have an employee where things just haven't worked out and we're parting ways, that may not just be the kind of question that we need feedback on. So consolidated the questions, put it into a Google survey, and then what I've done throughout the spring and summer is each time we have a school committee meeting and someone has tendered their resignation or they're leaving, the next day I send the online survey to them, and then once they complete it, they get the statement back that says, thank you for your feedback. If you'd like an additional conversation with me, please reach out. And I have had a number of folks do that as well. And that just seems to be a more contemporary, appropriate way to handle those kinds of discussions.
Thank you, Dr. Sargent. Any other comments on policy professional discussion? Okay, I'm going to move now to curriculum technology. Dave and I attended this. Dave, did you want to do this one?
Go for it, you got the mic.
Okay. All right, so we met, it was Dr. Sargent, Principal Freeman, Dave and Alex Bridges, myself. We had all met. Dr. Sargent, I'm just going to read this. Dr. Sargent reviewed priority number 1, cultivate an academic environment that fosters critical thinking, creativity, and innovation of the strategic plan, including the objectives. Dr. Sargent discussed the curriculum renewal plan, draft form, and explained how each subject's area's curriculum is reviewed, evaluated, and redesigned over the course of 3 years. Alex Bridges presented a draft technology plan. The subcommittee members would like more information on electronic security measures. Copies of revised grade 6 math and grade 6 math honors were provided to the subcommittee members. The grade 6 math curriculum is essentially unchanged except for formatting. Dr. Sargent recommended a curriculum template for use in future curriculum revisions and development. The grade 6 math honors curriculum is now a new document, but the course is not new. Teachers have been using the regular grade 6 curriculum and adding other resources for honor students. A distinct math 6 honors curriculum is necessary to address differences in scope and sequence and rigors of topics. I just wanted to also comment on, this was my first subcommittee meeting, and I was just, honestly, I was just impressed with, we were a small group, but just impressed with the energy and passion that everybody brought to the table. I just thought it was a really good meeting. So thank you on that. Does anybody have any questions on curriculum and technology?
Well, I'm excited to hear from Dr. Sargent that in October we're going to get some student data numbers, because those have been something that we've been asking for quite some time. I guess I have the question under number 4, why grade 6? Did grade 7 and 8 already have this template?
So none of the documents at this point are using the template that I've recommended, except for those 2. When I took a look at the curriculum documents and it's been a smattering, it's been some at the high school, it's been some at the middle and elementary school, just to get an understanding of how do we organize this work. There's a certain template that I've used that I think works for teachers because it treats curriculum like a roadmap. Right? You want your curriculum, ideally, if you've hired a brand new teacher to teach pre-algebra, for example, you want to be able to hand that teacher the curriculum document and they'll be able to understand, here are the units I'm teaching. Here's some sample lessons. It's not word by word, do this, but it gives them enough of a direction so that they know how long they're spending on certain units and where they need to end the school year on. So that's, in looking at the middle school, what really brought Math 6 to my attention was I was trying to understand at what grade level do we begin to level and accelerate our mathematics. And grade 6 is the year where we begin offering an honors level of mathematics. And then when I asked to see that, I learned that we actually didn't have a distinct Math 6 honors curriculum. We've been using the regular Math 6 curriculum, and then the teachers been making smart instructional choices about how to make it more robust or how to implement more problem solving. And I really think for teacher success and student success, you need a separate honors level curriculum to be able to do that. Because it was short time and it was end of June and July, I thought it would be prudent to just do the Math 6 and the Math 6 honors curriculum, use the new template so we begin to establish that as the expectation. And then as we move forward with future curriculum revisions, not only are we having them matched to the new template, but we're also bringing a careful eye to pacing. How long are we taking to move through certain topics? What are the resources we're using and how old are they? And are they effective? Are they outdated? Are there other things that we might consider? And then what's the overall scope and sequence? Where do we expect our students to land at the end of the year? I do know that we have, as we move out of 6th grade, we do have separate pre-algebra, for example, and algebra curriculum documents. But Math 6 just was, I thought, a really good starting point because we didn't have an honors, and I really felt we should start there with that.
No, thank you very much. That's very helpful, and I appreciate the consistency. It sounds like that you're going to be implementing, so thank you for that.
Okay, any final comments on curriculum technology? Hearing none, I will now move to negotiations. Steph, you want to take this one? Or Brian? Steph or Brian?
That's a further agenda item, so I think we should discuss it at that time, or I don't know what more we would
Negotiations have
say.
been completed, and we've got an executive session at the end to go over the details.
Sounds like we're all set on that. So now we're going to move to public comments. Before I do that, I just want to read the statement here. This is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on agenda items, contribute information that may be of interest to the school committee, or ask clarifying questions. Please wait to be recognized and identify yourself before speaking. This is not the time to register complaints or promote a personal agenda. Please remember that you may not identify any person by name or job function. We do have a speaker. Hello, Ms. Haggerty.
Hi. Do we just sign up when we get up here now?
Please do.
Okay, sorry. I didn't see it, so I guess I thought the sheet was gone, but I see it's here. Danielle Haggerty Herman. I just wanted to speak to two things. One is I really appreciate, Barbara, the presentation you gave earlier. I found it very thorough and well done for, what did you call it? Sorry. The strategic plan. And I had looked at it before I came here, and I had some concerns because I'm a physical therapist, and to me, goals are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely SMART goals. It's like drilled in your head in order to become a physical therapist. But when I came here and listened to you, I realized that it appears more like they're targeted vision statements as opposed to goals. This is the vision that you're seeing, and below it are the goals that you're trying to achieve to get to that. So thank you for offering that clarity. And I commend you for such an ambitious strategic plan. I do think it's something that everybody can attain. I also want to commend you guys for having tough conversations with such civility. The difference is just wonderful to see. I actually wanted also to come up and talk about something that the Maine School Board Association representative said earlier today. I thought 99% of her presentation was spot on and great and sets a good tone, maybe to correct some bad habits that have been going on in our community. So I appreciate that. The only concern that I have was a statement that she made when she was talking about state law and federal law, and that federal law trumps state law, which is an accurate statement. What I feel was misleading, and I fear coming from the Maine School Board Association, it can be felt, and I'm not a lawyer, and if you want to go toe-to-toe with me, Jean, we can. You'll win. And I commend you for asking the question, because I brought up when BCA was up, I said, why is it not say the Constitution, federal law, state constitution, and state law? Because when I did my oath, all four of those things I had to attest to as a town council member. I feel it's an injustice that there is a policy in place that only states you follow state law, and doesn't say that the Constitution, federal law, state constitution, state law, in that order. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. I feel like that policy should be updated when it can be updated to reflect those items. And I appreciated that you asked that question. My concern in her statement was that she referenced the executive order being why these schools are standing up for girls, and I must say that is not true. There is a federal law in place. Dr. Sargent gave an excellent presentation on it previously, and the federal law went into play in 1972 and was amended in 1988. It was never changed by Biden. It was never changed by Trump. What they have done is they've issued executive orders to their Department of Justice and their Department of Education to follow what they feel the interpretation of the law is. They've not changed the law. Neither of them have. And so I think if we gloss over the fact that there is actually a federal law that says that girls and boys need to have appropriate Title IX protections in sports and private spaces and in harassment, if we gloss over that and we say it's an executive order, we miss the fact. And then it puts you all in a bad position because you're looking at state law and an executive order. State law trumps an executive order. The executive order is grounded in Title IX that's supposed to protect our girls. And I feel that that was not a fair representation of the situation. And I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haggerty. Any other public comment? Okay, closing public comment, seeing none. Now we're going to move to business and finance. Can I have a motion to approve the meal rates?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And anyone want to, let's have a discussion.
As those meal, I assume those meal rates are what is being directed through the hot lunch program for what we need.
That's correct. And again, in Maine, the first school lunch is free. And so this is the recommended cost for second meals for breakfast and lunch for students, and then adult prices provided to us by our food services folks.
Are students eligible to get a free second option? You know how sometimes that's an option based on income. I'm just curious.
If students are filling out the form and they meet the criteria, then they are eligible for that.
Thank you.
And that even if we approve what's here, they can still fill out the form. Is that correct?
Yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed?
We're just going to abstain because it's budget.
2 abstentions. Okay, motion passes. And did I just do the student one, or did I do both student and adult?
You did both.
Great. All right, now I move to, can I have a motion to approve the annual contracts renewals? First one we're doing is Child Development Services.
I move to approve the contract for child development services.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed?
I'm saying because it's a contract.
2 abstentions. Motion passes. Motion to approve the contract for athletic trainer.
I move to approve the annual contract for the athletic trainer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed?
Abstain.
2 abstentions. Motion passes. Can I move to approve the substitute rate of pay for the 2025-2026 season to $118 per day?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And any discussion?
That rate is just to keep up with after we applied the minimum wage, the approximate hours of a substitute. The substitute wages have not been increased and it's keeping up with this year's increases. So.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? 2 abstention, motion carries. Motion to approve the warrants. So let's specifically do a move to approve the accounts payable warrants 1432, 1434, and 1436 of June 30th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second? Do I have a second? Can I second?
Yes.
Oh, great, I second. And in terms of discussion, I just wanted to ask a question. John and I were not on the board on June 30th, 2025. I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, so are we allowed to opine on this or should we abstain?
You may do either.
Okay. I think I probably signed them, but I caught that now or caught that recently. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? I probably signed them. All those opposed? Oh, okay, so it's 2-2 and you guys are abstaining, so I'm assuming that motion does not pass. That's 2-2.
As I mentioned for the last, what month are we in? September, August, I want to be able to see the detail within our report. I can't always make it into the office to be able to sign. So seeing that detail within our packets will really be helpful to know specifically what it is that we're approving.
And just a point of clarification, what does that mean? So that in terms of not approving that, what happens with those? They're just maybe a silly question, but they don't move forward?
I would suggest bring it forward next time with the detail.
Okay. All right, I'll move on. So now we move to approve the 2025-2026 warrants as listed. I don't know, do we want to separate these out?
I'd like to see them separated out through payroll and then accounts payable.
I move to amend approval of 25-26 warrants to approve payroll warrants as listed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? 2 abstentions. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the account payable warrants as listed?
So moved.
I have a second. Any discussion?
We discussed them at the finance committee, but I asked for information to be brought forward for the full committee, and I'm not sure if those reports were included in the email that came out late this afternoon. I wasn't able to see it. I know an email went out with the documents. I'm not sure whether they haven't been reviewed, and the check listing was not there. And then I had a couple of questions during the finance committee meeting that the answers have not been given. So that's why it's a running finance question that I've had regarding accounts payable, and that's why I have concerns about it.
So I'm just asking a question. So if you were to go to the school and to sign it or not sign it, so you go there, are you able to ascertain or get this information if you went?
I would have to ask the specific question to the superintendent for each question that I have.
So it's not included in the information we're signing, is what you're saying?
It's included. Depending on the size of the warrant, it's buried within there. And if you have a question, then you have to ask the superintendent the question.
It's hard to know, Jean, say an item is out there for $50,000, I'm just randomly picking. Is that putting us over the cost item? Cost, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, from using the long terminology. Is that putting us over our budget for the year or not? And if we're approving that warrant, that's us putting it on there, putting our names on there. So just having some more detail will really be helpful.
People are a product of their past, and that is why I am the way I am. And that is why I have reservations without having all the information in front of me.
Any other discussion? All right, let's vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? opposed? Any abstentions?
Same with the budget.
So it's 2-2, it doesn't pass. And I'm gonna open up business and finance to public comment. Any public comment? All right, moving on. So we're gonna go to governance. Do I have a motion to approve the 2025-2026 emergency management plan?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
That's the district emergency management plan that I saw Friday, or is it this
That is,
evacuation drill?
no, it's what you need to do.
Yeah. Just for the group, I reviewed it on Friday, discussed items with the superintendent. Overwhelming majority of the items are clerical or mostly formatting. And I'm sure on a computer they look fine, but when it prints, it doesn't. So there were some of those sort of issues. In regards to content, the content was there, but like any emergency plan, it's only as good as what it's written. I mean, it's a checklist of different items. So there's no magic wand in there that says how we will be successful in an emergency event. So my only question or my only comment is I hope that the administrators are doing the training that is listed in the plan, but I found it to be satisfactory.
Thank you, Brian. Any other comment? Hearing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. So now we're going to move to the second reading of policies. Can I have a motion to approve the second reading to adopt EBCB emergency evacuation drills?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I actually have some discussion here just briefly. If you guys could just turn to that if you don't mind, I wanted your opinion. The last sentence in the first paragraph, where it says results shall be recorded and deficiencies noted and corrected. I thought that sentence made more sense in the fourth paragraph, because the fourth paragraph talks about written record. I mean, it's just a minor, I'm not really changing anything. I just thought this would flow better if that sentence was moved down to the fourth paragraph. So I would move to amend, I would move to amend the language as I just noted for EBCB emergency evacuation drills to move the last sentence of paragraph 1 down to paragraph 4. What do I say now?
Yeah, you just stated that you moved to amend and you
Okay.
outlined the amendment.
Do I have do I have it moved?
No, I'm still reading.
Oh,
By no
okay.
means am I opposed, I'm just reading.
We also had an earlier remark from a school committee member that in paragraph 2, second sentence might read building principals shall seek the advice, and that actually should have been put in there and we missed that. So if you want to handwrite in shall, that would make it into a final version if this is approved.
Thank you, Dr. Sorgen.
Okay, so I second the amendment that moves results shall be recorded from paragraph 1 to paragraph 4. And I also second this, make it all one amendment, that under paragraph 2, building principals shall seek the advice of local fire emergency management. I second that.
All right, any discussion on these amendments? Okay, let's vote. All those in favor of those amendments? Any opposition? No abstentions? Okay, the vote carries. All right. Now I move to approve the second reading to adopt EEBB, use of private vehicles for school business.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion?
I believe in having high standards, but boy, this I know Dr. Sargent is, well, we don't have anybody that's actually in this point, But it says transportation employees, right? Have current main driver's license with no convictions for moving violations. That is so broad that you could have somebody that rolls through a red light and now has a moving violation that could affect their employment. So I think that needs to be better defined, where obviously a moving violation that includes criminal speeding, it's absolutely a deliberate act, and I agree. But if it's a moving violation, I mean, any one of us could get a speeding ticket driving up to the school tonight. And it's not that I would claim guilt with the SRO here, but you know, that's the result that we're looking at. Then what is the impact on the employee on a minor moving violation? And that's the way I read this policy. In the context that my question was answered was, well, sometimes a coach may transport a student. What jeopardy are we putting now on the coach if they've had a moving violation in 5 years and they're violating our policy on giving a kid a ride to the ball field? You know, I would like to have that better defined.
Are you offering any language tonight or no?
I would say criminal, right? I mean, there's misdemeanor and criminal. So would it be criminal?
Just remind me what paragraph you're on.
I'm on paragraph 2. Transportation of pupils by district employees as part of assigned duties. And 2A, have a current main driver's license with no convictions for moving violations. I think it's a tall ask.
So you want to change that language, how?
I would ask for your legal opinion on where are we on like a misdemeanor versus.
Oh, to be clear, I'm not here to offer legal opinions.
I understand that, but
Well, just to
Step
go,
that out of the way.
just to go back though, who's monitoring this? Does it say that?
So if employees intend to make use of this policy and provide transportation, and I explained in our Q&A document that this is for, you know, maybe we have a Poetry Out Loud student who needs to go to Augusta for a competition and the parent is not driving the student there. Maybe the advisor offers to do that. There's a form to be filled out where they need to indicate they have the appropriate insurance coverage, that they list their license number, the make of their vehicle, and there's an approval through the district office if they meet the parameters of the policy.
Before they do it, thank you. Okay, that's my fault for missing that.
I don't know, just going back to Brian's point, having a current main driver's license with no, I don't know if you were asking like criminal speeding, which would be like 30 over. Because a moving violation, you know, is just,
anything.
okay. Did you want to recommend language or?
I don't have good legal language to recommend other than open-ended moving violation. It doesn't even have a time limit. I mean, my last speeding ticket was in 1994. I would be in violation of this.
Within the last 5 years.
Not in number 2.
In number 2, it doesn't say
Number
that.
2, it doesn't, okay.
Yeah, we hit that in the volunteer driver section, but not,
Right.
not employees as part of duties.
Brian, did you have a comment on this? Okay. I guess I did have a comment. I know Dr. Sargent's heard me say this. I guess I don't understand why the school has this policy for doing, essentially, it sounds like we're doing a transportation favor for parents or guardians. So my thought would be either parents or guardians could arrange transportation themselves, or those parents or guardians could sign some permission form for this to occur, sign a waiver of liability, hold the school harmless, hold the employees harmless. Just seems like there's a lot of burden being placed on state employees, school personnel here for essentially what's a transportation favor. But that's just my thought. Any other discussion? And Brian, I don't want to ignore what you're saying over there. Do you want to do any amendment there?
I'm at a loss of how to amend it, which doesn't happen very often, but I don't have the good terminology. When somebody's OUI and criminal speeding, I agree, they shouldn't be driving kids. Somebody that rolled through stop sign, you know, we're all going to have those minor traffic violations. It could be defining.
Right, are those things categorized?
Yeah, I don't know how they are.
Levels of severity in statute?
Right. I'm not
Do you want
fluent in that.
to? Do you want to table this, or do some table approach so that you could come up with language, Brian?
You can also send it back to committee for further discussion, or subcommittee.
That's a good idea.
All right. So I motion to send use of private vehicles for school business back to subcommittee.
Excuse me, before that, I need to retract my second motion, I believe, to approve it, or did you already retract yours?
No, I have not retracted it. I will though. I'll retract my motion.
Will you retract yours?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Now move forward, please.
All right. Now I move to send back to subcommittee the use of private vehicles for school business.
Motion to move back to policy committee?
Yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we have a motion to approve the second reading to amend IKAB-R grading and reporting system.
So moved.
Do you guys want to take this as a whole group?
Yes, please.
All right, so let's take this IKAB-R for the Herman High School, the Herman Middle School, and the Durand School. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? I just had a question about what do we think about the Herman Middle School, kind of the dual grading system? Do you guys think it's confusing, or do you think it's clear?
I personally find it confusing. But
All right, anybody else have a comment on
again, I don't have a recommendation, so other than I find it confusing.
Looks like some people are reading here. Any comment, Steph?
No.
Okay. John, you look like you're reading it. I don't want to move on if you're looking at it. You're good? All right. So, well, can I motion, sorry to do this, can I motion to take the middle school one separately, and we can just vote on the Herman High School and the Durand School first? That's my motion. Do I have a second?
Well, first, I'll retract the original motion to do them all three at once.
All right.
Yeah.
You gonna retract, Brian? Was there a second that needs to be retracted?
If I was the one that seconded, I would
Yeah.
retract. Yep.
All right.
Everybody somehow.
So now I just want to do a motion to approve, to amend the Herman High School and the Durand School. Do I have a second?
Second?
All right. And we've done the discussion. All those in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. In terms of amending IKAB-R for the Herman Middle School, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All right. Any discussion? Kind of already did. All those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, so now we're going to do the first reading of policy, motion to amend GCPBA exit interview for school employees. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So is it my understanding that since this policy hasn't gone through, that we wouldn't be using the online survey yet? We would be using the paper for the, we have some resignations here listed on our agenda. Or are we using the online form already?
I reached out to the board in the springtime to point this out and indicated that they would like to use the online form and heard no comment back from school committee members, and so I moved ahead with that.
Okay. And people are getting it the next day, so that's great. Or trying to be the next day after they resign. I just have heard in the past that people haven't been provided this exit interview, so I think consistency will be key.
Thank you, Steph. Any other discussion?
Could a hard copy of it be included as part of the policy, or is it a living, shifting? I like the
I
idea.
could certainly include a hard copy. I think every few years situations change. But I have no problem including at least some of the like sample questions of what would typically be included in an exit survey.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? No abstentions, motion carries. I motion to abolish the attachment to GCPBA. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Are we abolishing it, or I mean,
I just read what it said.
right? So we just discussed saying that we would keep a copy of the survey, so it may not be that survey, but are we abolishing the survey, or will an updated survey be
We brought it to the table to be abolished, but now based on this question that Stephanie just asked and asked superintendent, about putting it there.
So are we abolishing it? It sounds like we're not abolishing
We
it.
were abolishing it when we brought it to you, but based on this discussion, the amendment may be not to abolish it, but to attach it to.
All right, thank you.
So that would.
Or as it goes back to something, I apologize, I stepped on.
No, it's okay.
As it comes back to committee for second consideration before up for second
We can
reading,
do
it
that.
may be that just for saving all attachments that we embed within GCPBA, we embed bullets in it that include those survey items.
So we can take it back to committee and work that in and then bring it back.
Yeah, this is a first read, so we've got time to play with it.
Yep. And those added bits of conversation give us something to look at, to do.
So then we do not abolish this, right? Okay.
All right, any other discussion? Real quick, you want to say something?
Did I second a motion? Did we have a motion? Did I just take that back?
There's a motion out there, I think.
Yeah, there was a motion and a second. Are we looking
To
to retract?
abolish it, so you need to retract.
No, you just can vote no. We don't vote. We voted to abolish it instead of going through the whole process. We just vote no.
Oh, no, that works.
All right, so it sounds like we have the discussion. So all those in favor
To abolish.
to abolish the attachment to GCPBA? All those opposed? Seems like we're opposed.
More work to be done.
Any abstentions?
Nope.
No abstentions. Okay, so the motion fails to abolish. Any public comment on letter L, governance, on the agenda? Any public comment? Don't see any public comment. Going to move to personnel. Do we comment on resignations? Okay, so we'll just, we can see here on the agenda the resignations. Do we comment on reduction of position? We do not? All right, so that's on the agenda. We could look at that if we wanted to. We're going to move forward to employment, correct? And so I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to employ James Surkey, mathematics teacher.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
The only thing, this is specific to all positions, this is not to this position, I just want to be clear. We heard from Eileen earlier tonight that these have to be approved before people are offered a contract, I believe. So I don't know if there's a policy that we need to go back and amend or how we can ensure that we follow that. And I would anticipate that the same thing would go forward with in-house transfers too.
The contract's dated for tomorrow.
Oh, perfect for that. Okay, perfect.
All right.
And it has not been signed yet.
Okay,
knows that it's on the agenda for tonight and to continue paperwork tomorrow.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. I want to make sure.
The other thing, this is other that we've done is, first of all, we're grateful for this teacher for stepping forward to take on a math position at the very beginning of the school year. We have a certificated, the outgoing math teacher co-teaching in that room, so that he's not on his own. He has the opportunity to watch some lessons and learn before the exiting teacher has his last days with us.
All right, any other discussion regarding Mr. Sharkey? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. I'm going to take these as a group unless somebody tells me not to, if that's okay. All right, so I'm going to do a motion to approve special education program in-house transfers, Dawn Beswick, Hope French, Alicia Steffieri, and Vaughn Hefford.
Second.
And any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposition?
Staying because there's no high school positions in there.
Okay, 2 abstentions, motion carries. I'm going to move to administrative interns and take these as a group as well. I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to employ the following for 2025-2026. Megan Garby, administrative intern. Elizabeth Trenkman.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Oh, I should do that too. It's hard to do. Any opposition? Okay, any abstentions? All right, motion carries. I'll move to letter F, take them as a group 2. Move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to employ for 2025-2026 Amanda Lovejoy and Brandon Crocker for new teacher mentor.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Any opposition? No abstentions. Motion carries. For the next group, there is there's one person tabled. So why don't we do that separately in a moment? But I want to take the others in a group. So I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to employ for the following for the 2025-2026 Herman High School co-curricular and athletic positions: Amy Lucy for French Club advisor, Christy Robinson for musical choreographer, Samantha Ireland for high school soccer volunteer assistant.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to make sure on a go forward that this has been reoccurring, it's come up before in another year, but that we get volunteers approved according to policy.
And if I follow up with you.
For the coaches, yes. It's the hiring of coaches I do not have. It's JJ, I don't know. But in the past, I've brought that up, and I just got to make sure that all volunteers are approved, because there was a volunteer that happened at some point this year, I don't need to state when, and it was something that was never approved by us. So I just want to make sure that going forward we are consistent. I think that's the key, consistent. So thank you, Dr. Sargent, for ensuring we are.
All right, any further discussion on those 3? All right, let's move to a vote. All those in favor? Any opposition? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, now I got to do this right. So I need to do a motion to take off the table. Did I do that right? Okay, motion to take off the table Marissa Kelly, varsity girls basketball.
Is that, you're looking for a motion or you made the motion?
Oh, I tried to make a motion.
So you made the motion, I second.
Okay. And then any discussion about taking her off the table is the first thing we need to do. All right, hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? No abstention. Motion carries. Now we need to do a motion to approve Marissa Kelly for varsity girls basketball coach. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposition? And any abstention? All right, looks like the motion carries 3-1. Is that right?
5-1.
5-1, I'm so sorry. All right, moving forward here. Move to approve superintendent's recommendation to employ for 2025-2026 the following Herman Middle School athletic positions. Sean Ward for Herman Middle School boys soccer. Ashley Bourdon for softball.
So moved. Or second. Are you moving or you?
I think I tried to move.
All right, second.
All right. Any discussion? Oh man. I should probably abstain on the Sean Ward one. I forgot about that. So let's take Ashley Borden first, if that's okay. I apologize. So can we just withdraw what we did and take these individually?
Yep, I withdraw my second.
All right. So let's just move forward on Ashley Borden. Do I have a motion to approve her? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. And any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposition? 2 abstentions. All right, motion carries. I move to approve Sean Ward for Herman Middle School boys soccer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion? All those in favor?
You said you were gonna abstain?
I will abstain.
Yeah, I think you technically have to abstain before the vote.
Okay, I'm going to abstain.
And usually you have to give a reason.
Well, I think that there was I don't know how much you want me to get into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some personal relationships regarding, not this particular coach, but folks that were involved with him recently, and there could be an appearance of potential bias in my vote, so I don't want to have that appearance. All right, so now that we've got that out of the way, all those in favor for Mr. Ward? All those opposed? Abstaining?
Abstain.
All right, motion carries, looks like 3-0 if I did that right. All right, any, just looking here, any public comment on personnel? All right, seeing none, we'll move to job descriptions. Motion to adopt the administrative assistant to the director of special services. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposition? Motion carries. All right, let's move to instruction program. Motion to approve the 2025 through 2028 strategic plan and 2025 to 2026 district goals. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion?
I'll move to table, because I don't want to say no to it, but yeah, I've already voiced my concerns. So I just think we'd be doing best by this to table it so that we are successful with it. So I move to table.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I need a second.
Second.
Okay.
Any discussion? I guess I have a discussion. So if you table it, like, let's say we come back in, what are we here? So to come back in October, what's going to change? Like, in terms of, from your perspective, how long would we be tabling this for? What do you need change between now and October?
Well, I think we need to have some, as I stated earlier, we need to have some hard data to help us along with this so that we can provide the feedback that I think is only fair. So if we're getting a presentation or information in October regarding student achievement, that meets a hard data point of information of where we stand as a school department. So it's a 3-year plan. We shouldn't be rushing into it. I think we should be giving it as much support as possible. And by approving it right now with what I feel is incomplete information to the superintendent, we are not setting us up and her up for the 3-year success we would like to see from the strategic plan.
And do you have any, is there a difference for you between the strategic plan and the district goals, or would you approve the district goals and table the strategic plan?
It would be difficult I think it'd be difficult to cut those out.
For me, it just goes back to having that unified vision. And that was one of the things that, back from the training from Eileen, was there. And I didn't realize how crucial that piece really is. And I think defining that.
And then that feeding off of that, the question of, well, then how long do we table it? How long before we can provide that good feedback?
So is there a risk that we don't have a strategic plan for months and months now?
I asked for a strategic plan 3 years ago. So I commend Dr. Sargent for leading the charge.
Can I just ask a question? You're asking for data, and what data are you looking for to support the direction that Barb has given? What data are you looking? Are there specific types of data that you're looking for? I guess that's what I'm not hearing is what you're saying, data to support it. And if she has looked at moving these goals forward, I would guess that some insight into the data of where we are, where things are, where you want to go. But I think that it would be beneficial, Brian, to hear what data you're looking for. Are you looking for, and not the right thing, but are you looking for attendance records? You're looking for grades. I know that the state testing is important to you, but state testing it's a moving document. The state puts testing platforms in place, and by the time the teachers get, geared up to be able to do it, they've changed the plan. So I guess my question is, just for clarification, what data are you looking for that would help?
Part of it is student performance.
Okay.
And I've got a principal, and I'm gonna look up and see looking at me, but a message went out that our performance in reading in the middle school is not at a high enough standard. And I commend the administration for actually putting that out and taking steps to correct it. What is that as a district? What can we do to focus on? It may be core educational subjects that we need to put our resources, heavy resources in things such as reading, writing, math, and science. And while it would be nice to get to things such as performing arts, our focus really needs to be on the cores. Is that an area where our strategic plan needs to drive us? I don't know. We may get the data in October that shows that there is no issue with the core education programs, which would be great, but I don't have that information. So how can I get behind a strategic plan that does not address or openly consider those items that we may be looking at? Also in the strategic plan, I would expect some level of financial stability or what does our financial footprint in future look like, sustainability. And I think we would be well suited to gather information that is within our district on what our enrollment will look like over the next 3 years at the high school and at the middle school. We can already make fair predictions from the enrollment that we see in our elementary school, which I don't think has been added into this plan. And when we talk about levels of enrollment means resources and money. So those are data points that are hard data on items that we could or should address in a strategic plan and anticipate some of those issues.
So having a new administrator, a new person here, to be able to have guidelines to what specific data you're looking for, I think that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
You know, because the word data is,
It's all over the place.
right, so to know specifically what data is important to the board, I think would be a benefit. And I know that it's been conveyed, you know, before questions have been asked, but I think to be able to convey that, you know, now, specifics to our, what data will help support that. I think clarifying that would be a benefit.
I'd rather be a boat in the ocean going somewhere. It just seems like where, you know, Dr. Sargent has a plan and a direction, and it sounds like you're tabling that indefinitely.
That is not the intent to table it indefinitely. The timing is on us. And it is important to, and I think I said to Dr. Sargent when she first joined us, point the boat somewhere and go. I support that, yes. But as a 3-year, when I think of a strategic plan, it is where do we want to be in 3 years? We may have a pretty big landmass in front of us if we're on a boat going hard for 3 years. So what are we looking at? I just think that we need to have all of that information, or make a effort to have as much, to be as well informed as we can be with the information that we can get at this time. Student data we can get, financial data we can get, facilities information we have. Enrollment and future, you know, how is the town or towns growing, we can get. If we have an enrollment issue, can we look at more tuition students? That would change our focus, because I know that I'd spoken with the principal on whether we should be looking outside our town to other tuition students. I mean, those are all strategic decisions.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor this, but everything you said, assuming I agreed with it, what would change with would there be substantive changes with her strategic plan and district goals with everything that you said once we get the data?
Once we get the data and we knew that we were having a reduction in finances due to a reduction in student load, and instead of looking at moving our into more college credits, we are now having to look at a reduction in number of teacher and support staff. It could very much change the focus on the professional and leadership development, which is her second priority.
Okay. Any other discussion? I think our public commenter spoke to it well about it being sort of a high-level vision. And so when I look at priority 1, cultivate an academic environment that fosters critical thinking, creativity, and innovation, I think that's a noble pursuit, whether you have 50 kids or 650 kids, or whether you're flush with cash or you're broke, you know. And so, so I hear where you are, Brian, because I do think the idea of having data allows us to be really targeted, but then there's a part of me that I can fully embrace this, because I love the feel of it, I love the spirit of it, I love where it moves the school department, and so I'm kind of there's a little push pull between those two states, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have that same principle. That's why it's great that we have this is where we want to go.
Can we, I'm just talking out loud, approve this plan and then amend it if you come across data that just makes you want to veer a different direction because the data suggests we should? But I think it's just more important to have a plan as opposed to just not have a plan.
Okay.
When can we get a unified district vision? Will having the strategic plan and goals then allow the vision to be created? Dr. Simon?
So it's been, am I even on with this?
So quiet.
To be honest, it's been my experience in many districts that you have a flowery, noble vision statement, but if you don't have objectives that are clearly defined, that aim at actual things kids are going to be doing and learning, that's where your meat and potatoes is. And I'd rather spend my time there.
right, any other discussion? Okay, can you guys remind me where we're at with the motions?
I moved to table.
Okay, and there was a second.
Next
I
second.
believe Stephanie second, so we just vote if we want to table.
All right, you guys ready to vote on that? Okay, all those in favor of tabling? All those opposed? All right, motion fails. So-
What did you vote? I said table, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Joyce.
So I guess that we go back to motion to approve the 2025-28 strategic plan, 2025-2026 district goals. Any further discussion? Actually, do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and any further discussion?
So to your point, Dr. Sargent, I think in a way what you just said mirrors what Brian's talked about a little bit, having really concrete objectives, something measurable. And so based on the feedback you've heard tonight, how do you feel about modifications, or do you feel like the plan as written gives you what you're looking for in concrete measures, like avoiding the flowery vision and concrete action steps?
Thank you for the question. I just want to wish our students a good night. Thanks for staying with us. I've been taking notes as we've been talking, and I certainly can embed some of the questions about where we're at with enrollment into the data presentation that I'm aiming for October. The other thing that I will do, as I've done with all presentations, is I'll share my draft with our committee members in advance, so that if there are things that are missing, things that you want more information on, you can help guide me so that what I'm presenting has as much of the data you're looking for as I'm able to find. I appreciate the interest in moving forward on the plan and the goals, and then as we have data available, weaving that into strengthen language, change timelines if necessary. But these are things that I think are, especially for the 25-26 district goals, these are achievable this year, and I think it sets us in an incredible position to further strengthen our students' experiences.
Thank you, Dr. Sargent. Any further discussion? All right, I guess we're ready to vote. All those in favor of approval?
I support my superintendent. I voiced my concerns, but I support my superintendent.
Any opposition? All right, and any abstentions? All right, motion carries. All right, so I have a motion to approve Math 6 curriculum. Do I have a second?
Do we need to approve this? Before we even go down this road, do we need to approve it? By what was explained by main school management, we approve programs. It sounded like we don't get down into this level. Do we need to get down into this level?
So my understanding, both from Eileen and from some other main superintendents, is that there are districts that do as she suggested, which is approve program large sweeping initiatives, but don't get into the granular of curriculum. It's been my experience, simply because we hire teachers to teach a curriculum, to keep all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, that we seek committee approval. But if it's the committee's desire to not have their hands on this, I will respect that as well.
Okay, so I don't know where that leaves us. Are we moving forward with that?
If no motion is, or if a motion is, you know where my struggle is with this. It's not. I mean, it's hard to have discussion on a motion, but.
I'll second it so we can have, there's a motion, I'll second it so we can have discussion.
Okay. It's a recurring song and dance that I have for all of you, that we have no information on student outcome. How can we adjust or not adjust our curriculum without knowing where we stand in that field? Where do our sixth graders how are our sixth graders doing in math? We don't know. So we have a document that says there's no change, it's a format change. Do we really need to approve it? It's a format change. Because if we approve it, I'm putting my name on it, because my name is on it, saying that this is the correct change for the curriculum. And it's not a reflection by any means of the author of the curriculum. I uphold the author in high regard. But I think the position that I'm in tonight is to agree to a change in curriculum when I don't know where we stand. So there is no change to the curriculum, it's a format. Okay, well, I'm putting my name on the new curriculum that says that it's good to go, when I don't know whether it is or not. So if we don't need to get to that level, why put ourselves in that position?
And when you say student outcomes, specifically you mean?
Main learning results, do the sixth graders meet the main learning results standards?
And you're saying, we obviously have that information, you're just saying it hasn't been shared with the school committee?
I don't know.
It's gonna be shared in October, we heard today.
Okay.
And Jean, just to be clear, this isn't a Dr. Sargent issue. This is a harp I've been playing for over 3 years now. So this is not, unfortunately, Dr. Sargent is having to deal with my song and dance, but it's been practiced now for several years. Hopefully we are at a position where we can resolve it. But it comes back to, I feel I'm opposed to approving any curriculum or programs without having information on the need for the change or the need of the program. It may be a valid need, I don't know. And that's why if we don't need to make the decision, if we don't need to put our name on it, I don't think we should put our name on it. If we do need to put our name on it, I have significant concerns because I can't say yes to something that I don't know. That is what we are asked to do. We're asked to make informed decisions. We don't have the information on this.
Okay, any further discussion?
I view the curriculum as part of the superintendent's responsibility. I think that's what you're saying, Brian, and it doesn't need to come to the committee level.
I don't think this needs to come to our level. And if it does, it forces our hand, and you know how I feel with it. It sounds to me like the superintendent asked for a change to format, and what was produced by her notes is that there's no change to content, it's a change to format. Well, if we approve it, we've said that we've accepted the update.
Any further discussion?
Do you have a motion on the table?
I think we did, didn't you second it?
Yep, I can withdraw if we're gonna.
I have Robert's rules here, I was gonna try something. I object to the consideration of the question. Should we try that? I guess it means avoid main motion altogether.
Okay.
Want to do that?
Yep.
Do I have a second?
I will second to an objection whenever I can. Yep.
All right, any discussion on that motion?
And this would be us basically saying, Dr. Sargent, we trust you and we trust the middle school staff that the curriculum you're looking to move forward here is.
And what I've done in these situations is then I withdraw it from consideration. So it's not tabled, it's just off. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, so all of those in favor of essentially avoiding this main motion altogether. All those opposed? No abstention, motion carries. And are we doing the same thing with Math 6 honors curriculum? Should we do,
If you ask for a motion and nobody gives it, it's dead.
So I move to,
No, is there?
oh, just don't even do it. Okay, I withdraw any motion I made. I have an idea as well. I move to postpone the motion to, let me strike that. Any old business we want to discuss? Any old business? Nope, here are none. In terms of new business, I had an idea because Tony's not here. So I was going to maybe move to postpone the school committee goals because I'd love to hear his input And maybe also move to postpone the MSBA resolutions until the next meeting so we can get Tony's input?
I would just, oh, you want a motion, you need a second so we can discuss?
Yeah, can I get a second on that?
Yep, second. And I would agree with you. I think maybe committee members come back with goals next time or submit to Tony over the next month. But the MSBA resolutions we have all had, because Dr. Sargent provided them to us, so we do need to know if there's any feedback for October. And that can wait until October. But we should all be prepared to work on those in October, I believe.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, so all those in favor of postponing those two items until our next meeting?
Tabling them?
Yep.
Okay.
Any objection? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries.
May I go off agenda and just provide an update, Mr. Chair?
Absolutely.
2 months ago, we voted on a resolution for the MSBA, 2 of them. I submitted both resolutions, and I believe I CC'd all of you a copy of those resolutions. They went to the executive committee, which needs to approve them before they get added to the resolution packet. You will notice that that resolution that we approved did not make it. The executive committee voted it down, voted both of them down 11-1. So that is why it was not there. So I will ask the chair next month on a possible next step of what I would like to move forward with. It's just to give you an update of why it is not in your packet on MSBA resolutions.
Thank you. All right, executive session. I move to enter executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 4056D, discussion of labor contract negotiations with the Herman Educational Association for the custodian, maintenance grounds, secretaries, bus drivers, and food service employees at 8:36 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We discussed that. Oh, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
So what we'll do, since our numbers are so small, is we'll keep our school committee members here and ask that as we move into closed session, if everyone else would please leave the room. And then if you're waiting out in the hall, I can certainly bring you back in once we complete the work here. Thank you.
Okay, we're returning from executive session at 8:47 p.m. And I move to ratify the negotiated agreement between the Herman School Committee and the Herman Education Association for the custodian, maintenance, grounds, secretaries, bus drivers, and food service employees for 2025 to 2028. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposition?
Abstentions.
Any abstentions? 2? Okay, motion passes. I move to adjourn the meeting at 8:48. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Any opposition? Okay, motion carries.